Tea sippers, happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. What's poppin'? What is poppin'? What is poppin'? What's poppin'? What it do? What it do? What it do? What it do? Hey, tea sippers. Come on in. Ooh, wee, baby. Ooh, baby. Here I am. Sunset. I'm gonna try to do a little recap, baby. They said 50 was gonna be on IG posting and stuff. Baby, but who they didn't say was gonna be on there teasing 50 was Ja Rule. Wow. Now I know 50 knew that they was gonna be trying to tag him. I know he know that, right? Woo! Let me see some while people are coming in. Let me see some. Let me see some. So that means I need to change my green back. Let me see what this will do. Let me see something. No, I need to change that because that's going sideways. And we really can't see Diddy. And there she go. Her right here. Her and Diddy. I need to snap another picture the right way, huh? Baby, because listen, her identity has been exposed. And I just needed to recap. But let me say this about 50. Let me see something. Let's see that one. I kind of like it. That's AunTeaFee. So listen. But I need to keep that one of them, huh? So listen. I was listening to some things, and as far as 50 Cent goes, as far as 50 Cent go, now we did know. Remember, when it first kind of came out, an old girl was exposed some months ago, and 50 Cent kind of blew at the coop. You mean to tell me that you was one of Diddy's sex freaks? You know, he said this a long time ago. Y'all remember that? I think when it first kind of came out about what was going on with them freak outs, her name popped up then, his baby mama popped up then. So we can't act like, we cannot get brand new and act like we didn't know that, or we can't act like 50 didn't know that she was one of Diddy's playthings. He knew some time ago, because I remember him, hey Cynthia, I remember him trolling her, um, having something really bizarre and crazy to say about it. Okay, I remember that. So I don't want to get brand new, and I don't want people getting brand new on 50, trying to act like he didn't know, or he just now finding out, or we the people just now finding out that 50 found out that she was one of his she was more than arm candy, because he was really pimping, big pimp. That she was one of his flavors. Because I don't care what nobody say, that was not his girlfriend. Now he may wanted her to think she was. Who did I hear last night say that? Oh, Tisa. Shout out to Tisa. She called it correct. He is one of them Romeo Pimp. Psst. Where they make you think that, you know, they wine and dine you and make you think that you their girlfriend, spoil you, you know, you the pick of the litter. Ooh, y'all got a good pop, didn't you? When in all reality, you just a plaything, and that you ain't his girlfriend. You just gonna be one who's gonna make him the most money. You his number one. You can be seen with him when he go out to eat. So yeah, main squeeze, I guess. I don't know. I ain't no imp, you know, and I ain't never been, you know, imped. But in all fairness, 50 Cent knew that she was on that list as far as his playthings. She's doing something strange for a piece of change. Now, and then let me say this. I don't think nobody knew to what extreme all of this was going down. Because this is extremely bad. It's a lot. Oh, Lord. They're going to need to have... Oh, I was about to say some healing. But now we don't need no sexual healing. I wasn't supposed to say that. That's the problem now. He know he was sick and needed help. And what he thought he was getting healing, some help, was XXX healing from her. What's his name? Marvin Gaye. Diddy on a whole nother level. I ain't gonna even lie. Diddy on a whole nother level. He's sick. He beyond sick. Can I see him down here? I'm gonna find a picture and turn it around next time. I'm just gonna do stuff a little different. You know what I mean? But anyway, I've been listening to y'all. Y'all wonder where AunTeaFee been? You know, I brought y'all a couple of different things last night and yesterday. I'm going to do a comparison because Weinstein, Harvey, you know, people be talking about mistrials and all that type of stuff. He tried to get one yesterday on his retrial, you know, some type of jury misconduct. One of them was saying she saw some stuff or heard some stuff or what's going on in the jury room is unethical or whatever, you know. I don't know what's going on. But the judge says, no. Get your little butt back in there and y'all make that happen. Ain't no mistrialing on a retrial. So anyway, so then I started looking at Epstein. And that's your lane, lady, because they are really the non-African American traffickers who done, was one of them, the female in jail, and then the guy, he was in jail. He removed himself. He said, I can't, they're going to send me up the river without a paddle. And these inmates in here are going to do to me what I was doing to them kids. And I ain't going to be able to handle it. See, ain't that funny how that ain't their pleasure? They don't get turned on when Big Bubba and them come flip that, it's over. Force themselves on them the way they was doing other people. You would think that they would be right up their alley, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? I would think, since I'm not a PDF file, since I'm not one of them, I would think, though, that would be right up their alley, that they would be home sweet home, like, what's his name, Suge Knight say, he'll fit right in. They got baby oil in here. He could put it to use. But that ain't what they want. Even though you would think that's what they want. No, because they're not in control. See, they like catching people off guard and forcing them. They don't like nobody taking something from them. You understand? In they sick, narcissistic mind, I guess that's saying to them, ain't no fun like that. I ain't got the gun. Right? Ain't that what they say? Ain't no fun when somebody else got the but neither here nor there. That's what they had to. So I was looking at Epstein, and I was thinking, so he just gonna remove himself when he did he play with boys? Or was his just girls? Or did he like them both ways? And again, on that boy that's missing, I watched that too today. I've been listening, with my good ear. I got my good ear out with my good diamond. Boy, I've been having this one right here for a while, baby. That's the good ear. Yeah, this the good ear. Yes, indeed, baby. I got this long time ago at a jeweler in Garland, off of Buckingham, I think. Yeah, anyway. And lost the other one. So that's why this one not my good hair, Because these are replacements over here. This one right here costs me a good penny. Y'all know I ain't gonna act right. Y'all already know I ain't gonna act right today, don't you? I done talked to my mama. Oh, y'all. Anyway. Anyway. I was about to go somewhere, but I ain't gonna go there. I ain't gonna go there. Yeah. Had some loss in my family this week, y'all. So, my mama lost her brother. But I'm just thankful to God that my uncle lived a very good life. And I just thank God for allowing me, my family, the opportunity for them to live on this side of earth for a long time. A lot of people don't make it. A lot of people don't make it. So, yeah, I'm glad to know my mom had made peace with that before her brother left. So I'm glad to hear that. But, it still hurts. It still hurts. It still hurts. Thank you, Kelly. But my mama was okay. So if my mama okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I said I'm going to be okay. I can't believe I'm doing this right now. Girl, you better wake up and stop. But anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. I just went there. You know, death is final. And these people need to stop playing with people's lives. I mean, you know, that's just the bottom line. You stop playing. You stop playing. And, you know, I say sometimes that this man done made a deal with the devil. And to some regards, I do believe that. I do believe that. Not just by nothing other than his actions. I'm the same way with my mama, yeah. But I'm just so glad that she was in good spirit. Very good spirit. Something was wrong with her phone, listen. And I hadn't been able to get her for a couple of days, baby. And guess who was about to come unglued now? Now, today was the day we was finna have some problems if I couldn't get her on the phone. Today was it. I had already made up in my mind. Well, yeah, we was finna have some problems. For real, for sure. For real, I'm laughing, but I'm for real, because, you know, yeah, anyway. So, listen, let's get on back over here. Yeah. So, I was listening to some things today, and that guy that's missing. I watched him today, too. It's just something in my spirit about him and his disappearance. And I think it was his lifestyle that he was coming to terms with. So apologetic in some of the choices that he made with them back pages, doing something strange for a piece of change, and sleeping with people, and it was just as if he had in whatever he was doing, it was as if he had went too far. And he was very apologetic, and he kept saying something like, "It's serious. It's really bad." And I actually made a clip of it because I'm saying, and then he mentioned New York, and then in my mind I started thinking about this guy right here, because they went on, him and Cassie went on them back pages, Craigslist and all that other stuff, trying to find these workers, right? And this cat was Broadway. He wasn't from New York. He was from the Carolinas, but it's just something about it. I ain't lying. It's just something about it. And when I was listening to it today, he mentioned about New York City. He mentioned about, and of course, you know, hold on. Let me let y'all hear this little clip, because I'm telling you, it's just something about it. Hold on.
I ain't gonna hold you. This was...
No, that wasn't what that was supposed to be. Let me get back out of here. I done been listening to a lot, y'all, before I came on out here today. Hold on.
Myself anymore.
Can y'all hear that?
Going on these apps and just doing whatever I want. It's not okay. It wasn't okay, and God has forgiven me. I ask for His forgiveness for this, because I came too far, and I believe that God is helped me so much. He's helped me on my journey. Like I said, this isn't a message of hate at all, y'all. But I care enough to speak up for you, because for whoever may need to hear this, because it's real. This is real stuff. And being in New York City can be hard. I get it. It's everywhere. But you can get through it. And I'm a testament of that. God has pulled me away from myself in the areas that I don't myself anymore. Going on these apps and just doing whatever I want. It's not okay. It wasn't okay. And God has forgiven me. I ask for his forgiveness for this, because I came too far, and I believe that God is.
Yeah, it was just something about it.
Helped me so much. He's helped me on my journey. And like I said, this isn't a message of hate at all, y'all. But I care enough to speak up for you, because for whoever may need to hear this, because it's real.
It made me think that he had been threatened, or something. I don't know, but he been missing since October. Zelig Williams. So I was listening to that. The one who got away. Oh, y'all kill me. I'm just talking. I'm finna get caught up. And yeah, y'all. He been missing since October 2024. And it's if something, he was doing a major cry out for something filed, and then he went missing right after that. And when I think about everything with that, going through that dark web, going through fooling with I don't want to call it. Anyway, I'm going to leave that alone for now. But I got my good ear, and I'm listening with my good ear. So then I was just listening to, just a minute ago, Gene. Gene did. He a fool with it, baby. He said some things straight. Hold on, let me get back. We gonna listen to old brother Gene did. Even Ceddy Nash said, "Oh yeah, they done prove everything they need to prove with Diddy." Y'all kill me. Let me say that. Y'all kill me. Kill me acting like y'all. Y'all kill me acting like y'all ain't seen racketeering and RICO yet. Y'all kill me acting like these people ain't proved it yet. Y'all kill me acting like y'all don't know the difference in between domestic violence and imping. Then I heard somebody say, if finessing ain't against the law, but tricking a woman or a man ain't against the law. It is if you're using your business to trick people into doing what you want them to do. They are really finna flip the script on y'all. And what's gonna be funny is the more people say that ain't what that is, them people, them official people gonna say, "Oh, okay." Oh, okay. Like he said. Oh, okay. And they gonna hem that ass up. But let's listen.
Kind of smiling, acting like nothing's
Shout
going on.
out to Gene Deal.
You know, he's in a few different videos. I know he's on his bike on one, and you know, he's on another video, you know, in a store. Just,
can y'all hear this?
You know, it's kind of crazy.
it's crazy that you see him now more doing those things than you saw him prior to the raid and everything. Whoever he got as his publicist, his PR people that's telling him to do those things, they got to be out there crazy, man, trying to make it seem like it's normal, that you're a normal person, and he ain't never been trying to be a normal person through this whole thing. But now he's out trying to show people that he's normal and he's just regular, riding a bike, going into the stores, taking his kids places and everything. Yo, I don't blame him when it's getting close for this to be probably his last days free.
Just trying to get out there. Okay, so now that all this came out, you've been a big voice against Diddy. You've spoken up against Diddy. You've spoken about your...
Bruh,
No?
I've been a big voice against Diddy? Nah. Come on, Cam.
Oh, okay.
What have I said against Diddy? Not much, right?
I thought it was kind of a lot, but I mean, I guess I could be mistaken.
Listen, Cam.
Oh,
I was there when Bad Boy started at Uptown Records. I was doing the parties at the doors that they were doing. I have pictures. Heavy D first birthday party. You know what I'm saying, with Uptown Records. You understand? Diddy was brought over and he became part of our crew the same game. When he was doing parties at the Red Zone in the building, I was there, brother. You understand? I never had nothing against Sean, John, Combs, Puffy, Daddy's House.
You can't buy your way into
Puff
heaven.
Daddy.
You right.
Or Diddy. When dude became Brother Love, and he started thinking that he could talk to people's moms any kind of way, when he could treat people who loved him and gave money out their pocket once he was doing bad with the city college shit, when he turned his back on our crew, what helped him, and people used to wait for him, people used to show him love, people that put their life on the line, whether you're a bodyguard or not. When he became that individual.
Hello.
All I did is told what he did. And if that's been a voice against him, say hello to the bad guy.
okay. For sure. I hear you, bro. I hear you. So now, the feds have probably talked to Cassie and probably talked to a lot of other people. The feds come knocking on your door. What do you say?
Why would they?
Well, you've been online speaking about your experiences with them.
Right. But why would they come knocking on my door? They don't have to come knocking on my door. You know what they do? They'll give me a phone call. We want to see you in our office. I'll get me a lawyer,
Okay.
and I'll go to their office.
Okay.
Like any normal citizen would.
What do you think about the documents that dropped alleging that Young Miami and 50 Cent's baby's mom were paid a monthly fee to be Diddy's sex worker?
Well, I know they said that, and Young Miami had mentioned at one time that Diddy was cutting her pay because I think she was probably getting like $250,000 a month or something like that. But if you look at the history of Cassie was paid for 10 years up to, I think, like $2.5 million. So she was getting $250,000 a year for what? They say that she was an artist developer or something like that, but I don't know in those 10 years any artists that she developed. What happens is that the IRS is going to see what money was being paid out. That's why the IRS went to everybody who was doing business deals with them, that he was doing business deal, and asked for the paperwork, the paper trail. So they're going to see where his money was coming from, what his money was going to, and who was getting it for what reasons. And if they were getting money for allegedly being sex workers for them, that's what you call sex trafficking.
So this could be a problem.
Hold on to your love. Did he say the IRA and the S? Did he say the IRS made contact with these people? Did he say the IRA and the S IRAs done made contact and asked them for some paperwork, like an audit? Ooh, Lord. Did he say that? Did I hear that with my good ear? Back that thing up. Back that thing up. So that means Young Miami done put her foot in her mouth, popping her collar on social media. And she done drawed the attention to the iris. The iris done called her or knocked 3 times at that door. Didn't I tell y'all, T-sippers, that if they don't get them this way, Iris is going to be right there. Tapping on that ass. Iris gonna get, if they don't get them, Iris for dang sure will. Didn't I tell y'all that? Let me back that thing up.
Actually created.
Let me hear that again. Let's go.
I absolutely love it.
I'll get me a lawyer and I'll go to their office.
Okay.
Like any normal citizen would.
What do you think about the documents that dropped alleging that Young Miami and 50 Cent's baby's mom were paid a monthly fee to be Diddy's sex worker?
Well, I know they said that, and Young Miami had mentioned at one time that Diddy was cutting her pay because I think she was probably getting like $250,000 a month or something like that. But if you look at the history of Cassie was paid for 10 years of, I think, like $2.5 million. So she was getting $250,000 a year for what? They said that she was an artist developer or something like that, but I don't know in those 10 years any artists that she developed. What happens is that the IRS is going to see what money was being paid out. That's why the IRS went to everybody who was doing business deals with them, that he was doing.
Bam.
Is going to see what money was being paid out. That's why the IRS went to everybody who was doing business deals with them, that he was doing business deal, and asked for the paperwork, the paper trail. So they're going to see where his money was coming from, what his money was going to, and who was getting it for what reasons. And if they were getting money for allegedly being sex workers for them, that's what you call sex trafficking.
Y'all please hit the like
So
button.
this could be a problem.
It should be.
Big time.
Could be. Should what?
They'd have to prove it.
You're saying sex workers for them, that's what you call sex trafficking.
So this could be a problem.
Could be.
Big time. But they'd have to prove it.
Yes, sir. Paperwork, the paper trail. So they're going to see where this money was coming from, where this money was going to, and who was getting it for what reasons. And if they were getting money for allegedly being sex workers for them, that's what you call sex trafficking.
So this could be a problem. Big time. But they'd have to prove it.
Yes, sir.
Well,
So,
but what do he
trafficking.
mean they will have to prove it? Who he talking about? The people who out their mouth said that he was paying them $200,000 allowance? That came out their mouth. So who he talking about have to prove it? That like Young Miami would have to prove that she was just lying? Or what? What he talking about they have to prove? Prove what? It came out her mouth, right? While she was popping her collar to Gina. She said that. I heard it myself. Y'all better learn to keep your mouth shut.
Where this money was coming from, where this money was going to, and who was getting it for what reasons. And if they were getting money, they said that she was an artist developer or something like that, but I don't know in those 10 years any artists that she developed. What happens is that the IRS is going to see what money was being paid out. That's why the IRS went to everybody who was doing business deals with them, that he was doing business deal, and asked for the paperwork, the paper trail. So they're going to see where this money was coming from, where this money was going to, and who was getting it for what reasons. And if they were getting money for allegedly being sex workers for them, that's what you call sex trafficking.
So this could be a problem.
Could
Big
be a
time.
problem.
But they'd have to prove it.
Yes, sir.
So, sex trafficking. From what I understand, sex trafficking is like, you can literally, like talk to a chick on Instagram and she lives in Wyoming and you fly her out to your house to have sex. That can be considered sex trafficking.
No, it can't.
Yeah.
No, it can't. Sex.
Okay, so what?
Sex trafficking is when you take underage.
Oh no.
Because if I got a girl, come on, Cam. If I talk to a girl in Miami and I want to fly her to New York, you know what I'm saying? And she come to my house and we, as consenting adults, have sex. That's not sex trafficking.
Yeah,
sex trafficking
when you
is
pay her.
when you are buying or purchasing or selling sex. You know what I'm saying? And you go from state to state doing it, or you have underage coming to state to have sex and do sex and lewd acts. That's more like sex trafficking, bro.
Baby, let me tell y'all something. This is why people get caught up. Sex trafficking. When you, in Diddy's case, when he invites someone in state, out of state, to come and entertain, and your entertainment is intercourse for pay, It's trafficking. So if you see this fine chick online and you fly her in, you fly in, whether it's fans only or you just saw her and y'all are in the midst of whatever communication been talking about, ooh, when I get you, do. And she said, okay, so you paying the flight, I'm gonna fly you out, and I'm gonna give you a little something, send you on home with. That's trafficking. It don't necessarily have to be a minor. And what takes it over to freak offs and what take it to transportation is if y'all are not in the same state. So you fly somebody from out of state. Pay for that. So when old girl was paying for the what she called them, Slick Rick, and whatever, we gonna hear their names, the ones that she kind of approved of, because she didn't like the big funky, sweaty one that she had problems with. So she thought that it was in her best interest to choose the ones that she was kind of turned on with, you know what I mean? And they even went out of the country, right? That's trafficking. Whether they consenting adults or not, yeah, they can. You cannot pay them for their service, because if you wouldn't pay them or pay for their travel, would they come? Now, if y'all just want to, be freaky and have some fun, then don't leave the light, Instead of the light, don't leave the money. You know what I mean? Just come be a freak, I guess. But the minute you fly somebody out to have that freaky, kinky, whatever, and you pay, leave, gift, shopping sprees, whatever, for their services, that's trafficking. Now, it may not have used to be like that, but they have sharpened those laws and those guidelines. So, Brother Dean, do a little research, boo. It's not just minors. If you want to meet somebody and have a little fun with them, do not pay them. They got to agree to do it for free. No gifts, no necklace, no, let's just go shopping sprees. That's paying. Okay. Don't get caught up. Come on, Uncle Gene.
Buying or purchasing or selling sex. You know what I'm saying? And you go from state to state doing it, or you have underage coming to state to have sex and do sex and lewd acts.
Well, you said it right that time.
No, I can't. Sex.
Okay, so this could be a problem. Big time. But they'd have to prove it.
Yes, sir.
So,
now everybody ain't guilty. You ain't ready for this. You're a lie. Everybody ain't guilty. That ain't true. That is not true. Everybody has not paid for sex.
From what I understand, sex trafficking is like, you can literally, talk to a chick on Instagram and she lives in Wyoming, and you fly her out to your house to have sex.
Right there.
That could be
to have sex. Right there. That is trafficking. And no, everybody has not did that. I have never did that in all my life. You are a lie. No. You meet somebody on IG. You fly her out to have S3X. That is trafficking. Absolutely. I'm telling you, the laws have changed. And only person that I can say got it is Boosie. He got it. And he keeps trying to tell people, y'all missing it. They trying to get us on the back end. He absolutely correct.
It is sex trafficking.
No,
Understand, sex trafficking is like, you can literally,
Okay.
like talk to a chick on Instagram and she lives in
Well, Lucky gonna get you
Wyoming,
locked up.
and you fly her out to your house to have sex. That can be considered sex trafficking.
no, it can't. No, it can't. Sex.
Okay, so what?
Sex trafficking is when you take underage. Because if I got a girl, come on, Cam. If I talk to a girl in Miami and I want to fly her to New York, you know what I'm saying? And she come to my house and we, as consenting adults, have sex. That's not sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is when you are buying or purchasing or selling sex. You know what I'm saying? And you go from state to state doing it, or you have underage coming to state to have sex and do sex and lewd acts. That's more like sex trafficking, bro. It can't be with somebody that you meet online and you fly them to your crib. Not at all.
You paying for the services if you
From Kansas City to the capital city, Washburn University will surprise you.
So I'm gonna read the quick definition of it. Sex trafficking is human trafficking for the purpose of sexual exploitation. It has been called a form of modern slavery because of the way victims are forced into sexual acts non-consensually in a form of sexual slavery.
Now, what your question was and what you said to me, if you call a girl from Wyoming and you fly her in and you have sex with her, you're not doing nothing against her own will.
If you pay her
Right.
for it.
But if you make somebody do something against their own will by drugging them, if you make somebody do something against their own will by or you entice them with money and things like that,
Money,
to do those sexual
paying,
acts, that's sex trafficking.
right? We stand paying them
Just any woman.
That's what I'm saying with the money.
with the money.
If you meet a chick and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna pay you to come hang out with me for the weekend
That's trafficking.
and have sex, boom.
That could be considered sex trafficking.
Absolutely.
But if you
Money
pay for
talk.
it, that's a form of prostitution.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you went across
Right.
certain state lines.
Absolutely. It's trafficking.
Yeah. So it's kind of it has, yeah, it could be a few different, you know what I'm saying? Not really sure exactly what the sex trafficking they're saying with Diddy. Is it, did he force people to do it? Was he just paying people to do it?
Well, I can't say, I wasn't there. I had nothing to do with that. But based on the information that we have, Lil Rod said that he was
Manipulated.
putting things into the drinks. He was making people take tequila shots that was laced with certain drugs that enticed people to want to
The
have
feds,
sex and everything. This
The
is part of
government, the
complaint
laws. Who make the
that
laws?
the people around him are saying. This is a thing that Jonathan Obi was saying. This is a thing that Cassie was saying.
Yeah.
I never said that because I wasn't around them during them times. So based on the information that we have from the 3 people that made complaints
They have been
against him
enhanced
that
with
we
all the
know
human
of,
trafficking.
They said that he had done that in the past, according to them, and according to the court documents that we know of.
Well, tricky
What's
now.
up? This is Chaos.
Yes.
So hit that
Tricking.
like button, subscribe, and
Yes.
stay locked.
Yes. Tamika. Tricking imps and O's is now considered trafficking. That's why old girl called him Diddy old Romeo. Oh, that's what they say. Romeo.
Over the years, Sean Diddy
He's a
Combs
Romeo
has reportedly
imp.
shelled out millions of dollars to keep his
He would be considered a Romeo imp. And I've been saying since this trial, even with Cassie, when Cassie was thinking that they was in relationship, that that was her boyfriend. They both were saying they all who were allegedly in a relationship with him, but only really wanted to be in these freak offs with him because they thought that they was in a relationship with them. No, he groomed you to imp you. And he imped you for his pleasure. So it's not like you have to be on the street corner no more. No, you can be fans only. And somebody offer you a little something to come to one of their private parties, and do something strange for a piece of change. It's just like the Punisher. When they initially hired the Punisher, he was supposed to be hired to do a strip. He was entertainment. Once he thought it was her bridal shower or baby, some type of shower, they manipulated to get him there. And then once they got him there, they offered him some more money to it's like, forget that strip thing. No, we don't need you for that. We want to see if you would like to be a part of our fantasy. So that's a manipulation and coercion there, because that ain't what they hired him for. They hired him for a bachelorette party, to come and dance around and tease, like he said, the mother of the bride and the grandmother to go in and flirt with the older people so that But when he got there, they offered him, some more money to get in that bed. And then he became a hooker, a male hooker. You can't do that. You cannot pay for SEX. That is now trafficking. So, yeah. So then, when it first kind of started, I said, he her John. He her imp. She just didn't know it. And when she said, I want to be it, I want us to do these things, but I want to do it with you. He was like, girl, you crazy. Have you lost your mind? Your boyfriend asked you, have you lost your mind because you want to be his freak? I'll do these things, but I just want to do them with you. This channel been missing me. We've been missing you. Why you say that? Back in the day, that's what's called tricking. Yeah. They keep changing it because human trafficking has intensified. It has intensified. And the force, people in their mind think it's just grabbing people, old white van driving around the neighborhood, grabbing folk, and and putting them in the car, drugging them, and forcing them to entertain all these different people all day long. And then they brainwash them, you know, put hands, feet, and toes and stuff on them when they try to leave. What's the difference? What's the difference in when we think about the old OG imp, you know, beat them into submission, right? When they don't want to do it, they don't have a choice. Only difference is Diddy is paying for the men to be tricked out and not the women. It's a sick fantasy, but he's still paying for somebody to have S3X. You feel me? He's still paying for it. So you can't say, well, he just paying for his with permission or without permission. But there's a difference, y'all. Either you got to check. You got your cheeks to See, this is where people finna start getting caught up. You cannot get paid. You cannot get paid. Now, if you fans only and you just doing whatever you doing, not too much, you're not having SEX for money. The minute you get off your YouTube doing whatever they do, right? And you get on a plane and you go for a couple of grand and you are being someone's escort for money, an intimate pleasure, you have just entered into the world of imps and O's. And you trafficking. Hold up. How they gonna tell people to not get paid? Prostitution ain't never been legal in most states. Anytime you have SEX for money, is whether you want to find a cute name for it or not, it's still being a prostitute. Now, people come up with cute names for it, right? So it won't look so bad, but it's still the same thing. When somebody is you know, there are some hookers who don't need no pimp, right? And they just out there on whatever and making their own money, right? They still get arrested, right? It's still illegal to be a hooker, whether you have an imp or not, right? Right, Tamika? They got the game. No, it's not a game. Because, see, just because you may like doing something strange for a piece of change, there are a whole lot of other people who have been manipulated, tricked, beat, can't stop when they want to stop. I did it that day, but I don't want to do it no more. And then they getting dragged by their hair. They getting beat up, stumped and kicked out by their imp. Always been illegal, but they just changed the name. They have intensified it. So because it is such a serious problem now, right? They have intensified your state behind them bars and made it federal instead of a state little misdemeanor. You get right on out and turn right on back around and do it again. They saying, no. No. So that's why Boosie was having a hissy fit, saying, y'all, that's just all, and That's just she just a hoe. Yeah, she just at a hoe. And this birthday bashes. You that's why he was having a hissy fit. And that's why he said, y'all are missing it. They switched in the game up. And they using him right now, and they gonna get us on the back end. He was right. They using him, where you at? Him as an example, and they gonna start getting the rest of them on the back end. Absolutely. So them publicized birthday bashes, white parties, all of that. They finna start probably being raided, like Memphis being raided real bad right now with them gangs, and sunny South Dallas being raided after what's his name? Gucci. No, not Gucci. Yo Gotti took his ass over in South Dallas on Malcolm X, and ever since he took his little ass over there, yeah, given the location, right, where he put cocaine, what they be saying, ever since then, they've been getting raided. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Let's see what this one is.
Private life, private. Now those supposed secrets are cracking wide open as witness after witness is taking the stand in his federal sex trafficking and racketeering case, detailing what they say happened behind closed doors.
They just did this one. I don't know what.
Allegedly paid to keep quiet. I'm your host, Kennedy Walker.
Let's see what this is.
On Crime. As week 4 of the Sean Combs trial gets underway, jurors aren't just hearing about crimes, they're hearing about the money Combs allegedly spent trying to cover them up. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges against him. The jury heard from Eddie Garcia, a former security officer at the Intercontinental Hotel, who testified Combs paid $100,000 to ensure that security footage showing him physically assaulting his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in 2016 never got out. Garcia initially invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, but ultimately testified under immunity. He told jurors that after the assault, he began receiving repeated phone calls at the hotel's security desk. On the phone, he says, was Christina Coram, Combs' chief of staff, whose name has surfaced repeatedly in witness testimony, though she has not been charged with any crime. Garcia testified that Coram eventually came to the hotel in person. He recalled her asking what exactly Combs was, quote, dealing with. The prosecutor asked, how did you respond? Garcia responded, I apologized and said I was sorry, but I could not show her the video and that she could talk to hotel management or follow up with a subpoena. The prosecutor asked, did you tell her anything about what you had observed on the video? Garcia
I don't know about Trick Daddy,
yes,
but I know Boosie knows it's coming.
Off the record, it's bad. Garcia said he alerted the hotel's general manager and director about the incident, but that wasn't the end. Garcia testified that later that night, his personal phone rang, and when he picked it up, it was Coram again. And this time, she handed the phone to Combs himself. Garcia told jurors that Combs said, you sound like a good guy, like someone who wants to help. Something like this could ruin me. He said he brought that information to his supervisor, who then told him he'd be willing to hand over the footage for $50,000. When Garcia relayed that message to Combs, he says the music mogul responded, Eddie, my angel, I knew you could help. I knew you could do it. Sure.
All right, this feels almost illegal to know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed to be...
Eddie, my angel, I knew you could help. I knew you could do it. Shortly after, Garcia says Combs gave him an address. When he showed up, Garcia says he was made to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Then, Garcia testified Combs pulled out a brown paper bag stuffed with cash and counted out $100,000 with a money counter. Garcia said he split that money with his boss and another security officer. And Garcia isn't the only one pointing to hush money. Another witness, a former employee identified only as Mia to protect her identity, told jurors she received a $400,000 settlement from Combs. Mia, who served as Combs' personal assistant from 2009 to 2017, told the court she endured years of physical and sexual abuse at the hands of her former boss. She also testified that after Cassie Ventura filed her explosive civil lawsuit, a member of Combs' security team tried to bribe her into silence. Mia said she originally planned to sue Combs for $10 million, but after entering mediation, she testified she settled for $400,000 and was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement. She's not alone. Capricorn Clark, another former employee, took the stand and accused Combs of kidnapping her, threatening her, and forcing her to undergo a lie detector test. She testified they also reached a financial settlement. But when prosecutors asked how much she received, defense attorneys objected and the judge sustained it, keeping the number off the record. Then came Carrie Morgan, Cassie Ventura's close friend, who told the jury Combs paid her $30,000 to sign an NDA after she says he assaulted her in 2018. Morgan alleged Combs choked her and hit her with a wooden hanger, causing a concussion. She said a month later, Cassie met her at a restaurant and handed her $30,000, asking her to sign the agreement on Diddy's behalf. But the largest known payout is Cassie's. Cassie testified that Combs paid her $20 million to settle her civil lawsuit, which accused him of rape and years of violent abuse. She, too, was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And this may be just the beginning. Since November 2023, at least 70 civil lawsuits have been filed against Combs. Now, the man who once boasted of being a bad boy for life is facing a reality he could go to prison for life. This is a law and crime legal alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal...
really don't have that much legal weight at all. As a matter of fact, most NDAs have a carve-out...
...documents actually carry in a criminal trial.
In a criminal trial, they really don't have that much legal weight at all. As a matter of fact, most NDAs have a carve-out for either providing information to law enforcement or testifying in court. So they're interesting, they're important in lots of contexts, but it's next to impossible to draft an NDA that would prohibit somebody from either talking about a crime to law enforcement or talking about it in court if subpoenaed to testify.
Right, and sometimes I think some people don't think about that when they're making people sign these NDAs. Like, regardless, you know, you can still go to jail if you do something illegal. So you bring up a good point there. Absolutely. But let's talk about credibility. How does a payout, especially one involving 6 or 7 figures like we've seen here, impact how a jury may see a witness?
Sure. Well, obviously, if a witness has a motivation to testify in one direction or another, and they received a payout, almost regardless of the amount, that can impact a jury. I mean, again, if someone's been given $50,000 to testify or to withhold evidence in one particular direction, and that comes out during the course of a trial, then obviously their credibility is going to get scuffed up quite a bit.
How do you, I guess, if their credibility is getting messed up, I'm just wondering, how does the defense try to combat that?
So in a situation like this, in Diddy's case, I think what the defense would do, or either side, quite frankly, would do, is talk about the power dynamic. So here we have one of the most powerful media moguls in the world, having individuals sign an NDA, individuals who they themselves probably are not very sophisticated in terms of the law or business. And here's this guy, here's Diddy coming forward and saying, look, I need you to sign this. And it's not a 2-paragraph piece of paper by any stretch of the imagination. So that power dynamic itself is making them sign it. So it's important to remember that when that power dynamic is put into play during the NDA, that can have an effect on individuals as far as their desire to sign it or feeling that they had to sign it. There could be some sort of compulsion to sign it simply because of who Diddy is when he's asking them to sign these documents.
So if a jury, if one of the jurors, they're, looking at Diddy, maybe like, is he guilty for making someone sign an NDA or, paying someone off? How can the defense still try to make their client seem not guilty?
So from a defense standpoint, I would say, look, during the course of business interactions, contracts are entered into all the time. And that's what these were. These were contracts. These were people that were hired by Diddy. These were contracts that they signed as terms and conditions of their employment. And that's why they signed them. And it's par for the course. And no one should read anything into it by having individuals sign an NDA in this particular case. Now, whether or not that actually holds any water, because we sometimes know what the NDAs what these people ended up having to do as a result of signing the NDAs, that's a different story entirely. But in a vacuum, just talking about the NDAs as a common everyday business occurrence is how I would approach it as a defense attorney.
Well, let's get into some of the testimony. Eddie Garcia, he was a security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel. He testified under immunity. Can you break down what immunity actually means in this context, and why does he need it? And does it mean that he's protected no matter what he says?
Sure. So witnesses sometimes are granted immunity or ask for immunity if their testimony is going to involve an admission of criminal wrongdoing.
Please hit the like button.
So Mr. Garcia, he had a couple of problems here. I mean, obviously, we know he lied to law enforcement about what he saw and what he did. He also had some conversations with his employer where he roped some fellow employees into sort of manipulating the tape and not manipulating tape, but sort of giving the thumb drive to Diddy's folks. That certainly was outside the context of his employment. And he got paid to do these things. So he essentially got paid to break the rules, certainly at his job, and to give Diddy information. So by printing out or by downloading that thumb drive and giving it to Diddy's folks, he's hiding evidence. He's hiding evidence of what we all know is a particularly brutal assault. So in order to protect himself, his lawyers asked, and he received immunity, which means that he can't be prosecuted for anything that he says during the course of his testimony in this particular case.
What, if any, are the risks that prosecutors take when they put someone on the stand, like Mr. Garcia, who, they gave immunity to and who originally pled the fifth?
So when a witness has immunity and it comes out during the course of a trial, and it always does, it always comes out during the course of a trial, the defense attorney is able to essentially say, look, you yourself are involved in criminal conduct. You yourself are involved in criminal wrongdoing.
You better say
yeah. As a matter of fact, the only reason you're testifying here today is because the government is giving you a free pass. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you should take that into account. What does this person have to gain by testifying? In some instances, these people were able to admit to criminal conduct and subsequently not get charged by it or charged with it. So therefore, they may have a motivation in testifying in a certain way in order to avoid prosecution themselves.
And in this case, we know Mr. Garcia was given $100,000 to give Sean Combs a copy of that 2016 tape of him assaulting Miss Ventura. There are a lot of financial settlements coming up in testimony. Could prosecutors try to use those payouts to prove a pattern of obstruction or witness tampering?
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we know this. Diddy has a propensity towards violence. There's been witness after witness who've talked about these horrible, egregious, offensive, illegal, and immoral things that he did as part of his everyday life. And in order to get away with it, he was throwing money around left and right. So, of course, the prosecution is going to talk about it. And it does show, as you said so aptly, it does show that this is sort of how he did business. I can do whatever I want because I'm Diddy. And I'm either going to come at you by withholding professional services from you. I'm not going to release your albums if you don't do these things for me. Or I'm just going to throw money at you and hope my problem goes away.
And something that I found interesting was so far no one from Combs's inner circle has been charged. Could that change based on some of the testimony that we're hearing?
I think that at this stage of the game, if the prosecution was sort of dangling out the idea that if you don't cooperate, you're going to get charged, we would know that by now. So I think it's unlikely anyone else is going to be charged. Now, That's why these folks keep getting immunity agreements, because they're having to testify, they're having to admit their own criminal conduct, they're having to admit their own wrongdoing. And the prosecution knows who they can charge, they know what they can charge people with, and in order to get these folks to testify against who the government thinks is the true bad actor, Diddy, they're offering these immunity agreements, it seems, almost left and right.
Well, what about Christina Coram? We know that she was Sean Combs' chief of staff. Her name has come up several times during this trial. Even though she hasn't been charged, could she eventually face legal consequences based on what we're hearing in court?
So I don't think, again, I think it's a little late for her to be charged. I think that we know that all sorts of folks in Diddy's circle were engaged in this criminal conduct. And again, that's one of the things the government needs to prove. They need to prove, in order to prove RICO, they have to show that there was sort of an organization that was involved in criminal wrongdoing. And there's no doubt whatsoever, at least in my mind, that all these various folks who are involved in Diddy's inner circle were complicit in this criminal conduct. Could they be charged? I suppose it's possible, but my guess is it probably would have happened already.
Could Christina Coram testify against Diddy?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. There'd be no prohibition against her doing so. Again, if I were representing her, I would probably want an immunity agreement for my client before I let her get on the stand. And that may very well have already happened. We simply don't know.
We know that, according to testimony from Eddie Garcia, Christina Coram was there when the whole situation with the tape happened and just trying to get that 2016 tape to Mr. Combs, and Ms. Coram called Eddie Garcia, according to Mr. Garcia, several times. There's this line Garcia said, Combs telling him, something like this could ruin me. How might prosecutors use that statement in their argument?
So it's an admission. It's an admission of wrongdoing. And again, we already know, look, Diddy got out in front of the tape. As soon as it started leaking, he put out an apology. So he already admitted his criminal conduct. But back then, before anyone even knew about the tape, he's already admitting to Garcia, look, I think I did something wrong here, or I did something wrong here, and it would ruin me if it got out. And that's an absolute admission against self-interest. He's admitting that he's done something wrong. And then after that, he's now throwing money around to try to solve the problem.
And Diddy himself, according to Garcia, paid Garcia in a brown paper bag. I mean, that itself just sounds like a movie scene. But legally, how does cash complicate or help things in a case like this?
Well, we certainly know from Garcia's own testimony that he didn't declare any of this on his taxes. He got this money.
Well,
he gave some to friends. I believe he said he bought a car. Cash transactions are sometimes a gold mine for the prosecution, because if this was all above board, why didn't it go through Bad Boy Records? Why didn't it go through any of Puffy's business enterprises? But cash in a paper bag, I mean, there's a salacious component to it that's what a prosecutor loves. Again, you can't turn around and say, look, this was how we did business every day, if you're handing out cash in paper bags, hundreds of thousands of dollars in paper bags.
Well, I guess on the other side of that, we know that Mr. Combs is a very wealthy man. So could he argue that, it had nothing to do with Combs Enterprises, I took money out of my own personal bank account and gave it to Mr. Garcia?
Sure, but again, let's remember what the money is for. The money is to, essentially obfuscate any investigation into this horrendous beating that we've all seen on video. So whether or not it's Combs as like you said, pulling money out of his bank account or being funneled through one of his business enterprises, it almost doesn't matter, because it's what the money is for that's the problem here. He's giving money to Garcia in order to get Garcia to give him this thumb drive and to assure him that it's the only video that's out there. So, he's playing with evidence. He's manipulating evidence. And again, it doesn't matter where the money's coming from. It's the conduct that the money is for that's the problem.
For those of us with service animals, preparation is key. Ensure your buddy.
And other people are claiming that Mr. Combs gave them large amounts of money as well. The defense, they have been objecting a lot, like when Capricorn Clark was asked about her settlement. What does it tell us when a judge sustains that kind of objection?
Well, I mean, again, so we're watching this trial. We're interested in what's going on, but the judge's role is to make sure that the jury only hears evidence that falls within the rules of procedure. And consequently, judges often overrule objections or sustain objections, and the public doesn't quite understand why. Sometimes they sustain objections, and we all just really want to know what the answer to the question is. So it has a lot less to do with what we, the people, if you will, are interested in learning. It's what information is appropriate for the jury to hear. And those two things don't always match up. There's lots of times that we would love to know the answer to a question, but the answer to the question or the question itself is improper for the jury to hear or consider.
Well, any idea on why they wouldn't want us to know how much Capricorn Clark's settlement was?
I suppose the answer to that is every single thing that's happening in this case, again, shows Diddy's power dynamic with these various witnesses. And I think that the evidence will show that there was a settlement with Capricorn Clark. For the jury to hear exactly how much money that was, again, I would think as a defense attorney, I'd want to keep that out because it shows that Diddy's way to resolve problems is just to throw money at these situations, throw exorbitant sums of money at these situations. And that was how he did business all day, every day.
Now, at this point, we've heard from hotel staff, assistants, other employees, some close friends. Does a mix of personal and professional witnesses help prosecutors build a more complete narrative?
Sure, because the personal witnesses, if you will, those folks sort of lend sort of here and now is what's going on. This is what I saw. This is what was happening. This is what I observed. And the professional witnesses interwoven through sort of give the context within which it happens. So, for example, when we heard from the psychologist, and she was able to explain why victims of violence sometimes stay with their abusers for a significant period of time. That was very important in order for the jury to understand why, for example, Mia and Jane and all these folks kept returning back into Diddy's orbit. So those professional witnesses do provide context to explain why these people did what they did.
And also just like the legal strategy behind letting the jury hear multiple allegations of hush money. What is that about? Even if only one is directly tied to a charge, is that kind of sort of what you were saying, just making sure that they understand and showing that pattern?
Exactly, because the pattern is what matters here.
And let's talk about the defense. Diddy's defense team seems to be focusing on questioning motive, like suggesting that some of these witnesses are after his money. Does that usually work with juries?
It can. I mean, again, I think the defense in this case has a pretty tough road to hoe here, simply because of the sheer volume of evidence here, and I think that it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle, to say the least. So I think questioning the motives is certainly important, but I think the defense strategy is going to shift to, look, there's no way to ignore the fact that Diddy is a violent guy. Again, the video speaks for itself. And just because he is a violent guy does not necessarily mean that he did all these things that the government is alleging. The government has the burden. The government has to prove the case against Diddy beyond a reasonable doubt. So is this a domestic violence case, as Diddy's lawyers suggest in their opening statement? That will be their argument. Look, he's committed some atrocious acts against these women, and that's terrible. It really is.
Let me say this. It is far beyond domestic violence. Far beyond DV. Far beyond DV. Because so far, there's only one person that they could switch that around and manipulate it. Y'all, please hit the like button. I'm an hour and 23 minutes in. It's almost 200 people in here. I should have well over 100 likes. I know y'all know I will end it if y'all don't get the likes up. So please, come on. The only person, only one, and that's Cassie. And actually, even at some parts of the testimony, they had broken up, and he was still violent. she had moved on to Kid Cudi, and he was still violent. Calling people, forcing people to get in the car and come do this, go do that, and I'm gonna blow up this and blow up that. So, but if we gonna play like it is DV, it's only one person. People who've worked for him, her friends, all that other stuff, that ain't DV. They workers. You can't have DV with your boss, or your boss can't. That's not DV. That's assault. So how can this be a DV case? And out of all of the witnesses, all the testimonies, only one. And at the point you go on, she go on, we not in a relationship anymore. That's not DV. That's assault. You got you a woman, I got me a man. Now you threatening my man. That's assault. We not an item. So he can't even use that. And even if someone is in a relationship, see, this is what people fail to believe when even if you married. Now, I know that a wife is not supposed to turn down her husband, but people are saying that your wife or your girlfriend, if she tell you no, that's not eight. Yes, it is. By law, that's what it is. And this is why I say I see why a lot of people are locked up. Because what you think is the law don't mean that that's the law. And just because you do it don't mean that there are not going to be consequences because you choose to do it anyway, saying that, oh, that's my wife. She can't tell me no. That ain't no eight. Yes, it is. Because by law, she still has the right to say no. And, if you take it, can't do that. Now, I'm going to suggest to you, if you have a wife who keeps telling you no all the time, then you may want to find you a new wife. And that way you stay out of prison, and you'll be able to get it more frequently. You need to choose your wives better. Because I'm not suggesting that that is right at all, but that's the law. That's the law. So yes, somebody can be hit with a 8 charge by their wife or husband, whoever's trying to take it. Okay? So I want us to be clear, T-sippers, that there's only one person that they can, thus far, that they can say is the DV situation. And that's just really half right. Because half the time, she had broken up with him, or they had broken up. He had moved on. She had moved on. That is no longer DV. Let's keep listening. Diddy ass is going to prison. Make no mistake about it. And when we heard yesterday, he told that girl the real reason why she's still getting her rent paid after he done been locked up, they won't let him out. That contract agreement, yeah, he ain't just keeping, he not just paying her mortgage with her rent just because that's his girlfriend. No, just keep a mouth shut. Now, everything we did, it was for, you liked it, right? You wanted to do it, right? I didn't force you, right? Yeah, because force is the issue. And you know that force send these people to do it. It's going to get you locked up. probably close to life.
But that doesn't necessarily mean, just because he is a violent guy does not necessarily mean that he did all these things that the government is alleging. The government has the burden. The government has to prove the case against Diddy beyond a reasonable doubt. So is this a domestic violence case, as Diddy's lawyers suggest in their opening statement? That will be their argument. Look, he's committed some atrocious acts against these women, and that's terrible. It really is. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's committed RICO violations, and that's what he's being charged with.
What was interesting, I would say, with the defense, they brought up, the Me Too movement a lot. They said that, this was a money grab. Some of the witnesses was a money grab. How do you, I guess, as the prosecution, try to combat that argument as well? If they're saying, hey, you never filed a complaint, but it wasn't until, Cassie filed her lawsuit, then you filed yours. And then, oh, well, how much money were you asking for? How much money did you ask for? How do you combat that if you are the prosecution? That, yes, all of these women are now, years after the fact, coming forward with these allegations.
Why are women everywhere choosing Abby X, the new tummy tuck alternative? I got the tummy tuck result.
And are filing lawsuits against Mr. Combs.
So I think it's a combination of two.
Yeah, I need for y'all to hit the like button, please. Like, share, subscribe, join the membership, promote the platform. But if you in here, I need for y'all to hit the like button. Come on.
Two things. I think, first of all, you talk about the power dynamic between Diddy and all these individuals, and that he's the one who had all the power. And so consequently, they did whatever they said, or whatever he said. And then secondly, again, like the psychologist testified to, you provide context, you educate the jury as to why individuals who are in these horrible abusive relationships stay in the relationships and can't get out. That's what I think the answer is.
We are 4 weeks into this trial. We still have a few more weeks left. Are there risks of witness fatigue for the jury, and how do prosecutors avoid that when building a case this complex?
That's a good question, and it's tough to answer. I will say this, having watched an awful lot of this trial, as I know you have too, the witnesses so far in this case, they've been pretty compelling. And they're telling some stories that are horrible to hear and difficult to hear for the jurors as well, I'm sure. This is not one of those cases where we're getting bogged down in financial minutia. This isn't one of those cases where we're getting bogged down in hyper-technical information. And that could be coming down the road, but at least as far as things seem now, each of these witnesses is telling a very compelling story. And I think the jurors, at least from what I've heard, the jurors are absolutely paying attention to it. So I think the prosecution has done a good job of, presenting some witnesses who have compelling and awful stories to share with the jurors, and then taking a step back, introducing law enforcement to sort of, again, provide that context, and then stepping back and having the more firsthand witnesses talk about what's going on. And I think the prosecution's been doing a good job with that ebb and flow of the trial. Could it eventually reach a breaking point for the jurors? Absolutely. But it's too soon to tell whether or not we're there.
Well, before I let you go, what should we be watching for next? Are there any red flags or turning points that could completely shift the outcome?
I suppose the question that everyone asks is Diddy going to testify? If I were his lawyers, I'd be saying, please don't. Nothing we can do about that. As defense attorneys, if individuals insist on testifying, we can't prevent them from doing so. That's the multi-billion-dollar question that's floating out there right now. Will he testify? And I think that's going to be fascinating to see if they can keep him off the stand. I mean, obviously, we know that he's testified in cases of his before. Again, the stakes were nowhere near as high as this. He's an individual who wants to let his story get out there. I mean, again, his apology shortly after that video came out, we all know that he's not afraid to get out there and put himself out in the public eye, even if it's in a negative light. So that'll be interesting. And quite frankly, the closing arguments of the lawyers in this particular case, that's going to be must-see TV. Those are going to be fantastic summations. And I think there'll be a lot that we can learn from those.
Yes, we are all waiting to see if Sean Combs will testify. We know that Suge Knight spoke with our Anjanette Levy and said that he wants Mr. Combs to testify and thinks that it would be good for him and good for hip-hop. So we will see what happens next.
Good
William, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you again for having me.
Again, Sean Diddy Combs has pleaded not guilty to all criminal charges against him. And through his attorneys, he's denied all of the claims in the civil lawsuits filed against him.
Do y'all think he should testify? Or maybe I should say, do y'all think he is going to testify? I don't think his arrogance is going to let him stay on the sideline. I don't think he had that type of self-control, to tell you the truth. I think he's going to insist. I think he is going to insist. What y'all think?
University will surprise you.
Let's go. Y'all ready for the next one?
My God, Gene Deal.
My God.
Gotta talk about it, man. I heard they allowed you back up there, yo.
They allowed me back there. They never stopped me from coming up there, bro. You
That
know,
was
you
just
can't
a lie.
be listening to these people out here, man, that's trying to get content, trying to
Yeah,
get
I heard
me
them
their
lying
show
on
like
Tisa.
you. They'll make up anything, bro. Don't listen to these people, bro. The marshals did, when I did come up there, did pull me to the side and said somebody made a complaint that I had assaulted them, and they had no tape, no video of it or nothing like that. And I didn't cop to nothing. They just told me from this point on, stay away from the YouTubers and please don't put your hands on nobody. And I said, nah, I wouldn't do that, man. We good, we all right. And so his complaint went on deaf ear. So it is what it is. I'm back there every other day or every day, whatever I want to. I see YouTubers are getting put out. They out there acting a damn fool, bro. Like, it's crazy. It's like, I can't even explain grown people acting in that manner and what they're doing. So I'm back down there. I'm still getting the people screaming and hollering, saying crazy stuff, but I overlook that. I'm not gonna let none of that define me, man. I'm just down there to see justice get done and justice be served, and that's what it's doing. In my eyes,
he made everybody, doubt the truth. Well, not everybody.
So people don't understand. I've been doing this since 1997, man. Since I sat down.
And them content creators just thirsty for content.
A&E, MTV, VH1, they all got tapes and footage on me telling the same story, telling how Diddy was way back when. So the trolls can say what they want to say. I got people who were saying that I started talking about Diddy when he went to jail. So that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So like my man say, you can't fix stupid, bro. Ain't nothing you can do to fix stupid. So let them be what they want to be, man. They all trying to get clicks and views, bro. That's all it's all about, man. That's all I'm trying to get, clicks and views. let's get on with the show, brother. You know what I'm saying?
He don't want to talk
I
about
heard Diddy almost got removed from the courtroom. What's the backstory behind that?
Yo, man, Diddy is
trying to buck the system.
I guess his mind is gone, bro. You know what I'm saying? I seen him like say stuff to the judge. You know, like, I want to go to break now. And the judge said, okay, we'll break. and I'm looking like, damn. So this time, but the judge, he took that upon himself, you know, but he didn't take it lightly when he
No, they're not advising him to testify.
Then he looked at the jury in a way and just started nodding his head, like when a certain person was giving their testimony.
And now that he can't talk, he probably is going to try to testify.
Stopped because it seemed like he was trying to either attack.
Let me hear that. But now that the judge has stopped him from making a movement, motion, and signaling, he probably is saying, that's okay. I'm going to get on the witness stand. I'm going to testify. They're going to hear me.
And lightly when he went at the jury, then he looked at the jury in a way and just started nodding his head, like when a certain person was giving their testimony. So when he was doing that, the judge immediately stopped because it seemed like he was trying to either antagonize or he was trying to, like, throw some kind of sign or say something to the jury that the judge wasn't even going for, bro. The judge stopped him right there. And he told he addressed to their lawyers, the next time Diddy make any kind of eye contact with the jury and nod his head, yes, no, maybe, or anything, he'll be hearing about the trial from his jail cell because he will not be allowed back in court. The judge said next time. So he probably let Diddy get away with it to see how far he was going to do it. But then he said, nah, we're not having this. Because you got to realize the jury is not sequestered. They go home every day. And he's known for tampering with witnesses. If you go through the trial right today, you see how he was trying to tamper with some of the people by having security, D-Rock, and other people talk to them. They are saying that in their testimony. So the judge is very aware of the fact by hearing the testimony of some of the witnesses that he was trying to tamper with the investigation. So now they also know the history with his other cases that were state. And I was there, and I know for a fact they was about to pay off a girl that was on the witness stand on that Shine thing. So my whole thing about it is that they are aware that he's capable of trying to get to people.
Your favorite movies are on YouTube. Enjoy the latest releases.
People in the witness, whether it's a witness or whether it's a juror. But the judge wasn't going to allow that, bro. He stopped it right in his hand. When he did it, judge didn't hesitate. So I believe the judge seen him do that probably once or twice and see how far he was going to go with it. And he went too far. Because when the girl was giving her testimony, he looked at the jury, the jurors, and then he's like,
I just put a poll up.
You know, that type of thing. And the judge wasn't having it. Judge, he stopped it right in his hand. When he did it, judge didn't hesitate. So I believe the judge seen him do that probably once or twice and see how far he was going to go with it. And he went too far.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the girl was giving her testimony, he looked at the jury, the jurors, and then he's like, you know, that type of thing. and the judge wasn't having it. Judge blasted him. And so his lawyer said that he understand, Your Honor. Part of like that. You know how the lawyer comes close to the, say, yo, you can't do that and everything like that. So he told the judge that he understand that he won't be doing it again. The judge said if he does it again, he ain't gonna hesitate. He gonna have the marshals take his ass right back to his jail cell. And I believe he might just try it again.
I think so too.
That's how crazy it is right there, man. He shook his head at the jurors like, you don't believe that do you? He shook his head at the jurors like, you don't believe that do you? I know you don't believe that do you? You can't believe that do. This is what he would be saying if he could open his mouth. You understand? You don't believe that do you? I know you don't believe that do you? You bet not believe that do you? And it's some like that, yo, it was crazy, bro. And the judge snatched his ass up just like that.
And what you mean by the Sean situation?
Oh, when him and Sean and Wolf was on fighting a gun case and fighting a case where they were shooting up in the club, they had got connected with a young lady that was on the witness. She was a juror. And some people had got connected to her and they were going to give her $20,000 each. She wanted $20,000 each. 20 for Sean, 20 for Puff, and 20 for Wolf. I didn't find out till after the case was over with, but they was trying to pay off the juror, one of the jurors. Sean refused to give up anything. So Sean even knows about it. He said, no, I'm not doing that. You understand what I'm saying? And all of them had the same charge. So, it was funny that Sean went down for it by himself when all of them had the same charge. But they was trying to pay off the witness. They was trying to pay off a juror who's on the case, on the state case when Sean and Puff had that case for the shootout at the show. Nightclub. The one that Sean went to jail for, bro. You know that. That same case that Sean went to jail for. The stuff that we're hearing in this trial, he's a wild dude for a lot. Yo, I couldn't imagine the same kid I know from Uptown Records, from Bad Boy, from the same gang, that he done turned out to be the disgusting pervert, the diabolical, the sadistic, nasty. Yo, my man, the stories that these girls are telling up in that courtroom, you can't believe it. And y'all won't be able to, if you don't go to court and see it, some of it gets what they call objected to. So it don't make the record. But we there hearing everything. And when you hear it inside the courtroom, and that's one reason I want to go, because you get to hear everything, bro. You get to hear all the stuff, and then they have to object to it, and then it won't make it. Some stuff won't make it. Like some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, it did not make it, but then the prosecutor was so smart, they made it make it. You understand? They did it in a whole different way. You know what I'm saying? But I'll wait on your questions and then I'll let you know what I'm talking about.
Hold up, y'all. Hold up. Look like, hold up. Hold up. Hold up. It look like...
if I'm not mistaken, a woman named Mia...
Did he just put in another request for a mistrial today? Hey,
A key accuser.
Hold on. Y'all, did he just put in another request for a mistrial today? Y'all lying to me. Hey, Rage.
Imagine multiple threads becoming one. A single.
Is in any way relevant to the case.
Hello.
The district attorney has the responsibility.
Shout out to Melanie. Let's listen. Hold on. Y'all get my likes up. Get my likes up. Hold on. They pull his
Diddy, yes, today on a Saturday, just filed for a mistrial. I actually have the filing. Let's get straight into it. So yes, today, June 7th, on a Saturday, Diddy's team has just filed this motion for a mistrial. It's wild. We're going to get into it. I have the entire filing. Guys, if you're looking for my recaps and things like that from yesterday, I'm sorry, it was my daughter's birthday. I was fighting with YouTube to get these videos up, and I just at some point just said, you know, forget it. Let's just go celebrate her birthday, and I'll just pick back up tomorrow. And thank goodness I am, because this just dropped, but also I have some other videos coming out, as well as my recap of yesterday. Even though I didn't come out then, some of you guys may still be interested in my take on what's going on, the whole Jane Doe, and there's a lot to unpack there. But let's read this letter.
Dated today.
Speaking of fighting with YouTube, guys, if you want to support us on Patreon, we have something coming out. I want to say it's going to come out tomorrow, Sunday. It's nothing to do with Diddy, but we're getting into our conspiracy theories. So if you want to support us over there and fight back against censorship, because these are things I cannot post on here. I can barely post about Diddy on YouTube. Make sure you check that out. Okay, so this is to, I never can say his name, the judge, Aaron Sabramian. That's what I think it is. All right. So, dear Judge Sabramian, the defense respectfully submits this letter in support of its renewed motion for a mistrial based on prosecutorial misconduct. Let me move this mic a little bit. When the introduction of perjured testimony results in a criminal conviction and the prosecution knew or should have known of the perjury, the conviction must be set aside if there is any reasonable likelihood that the false testimony could have affected the judgment of the jury. United States versus Wallach. I'm not reading all those the citations. According to United States versus Walters, moreover, okay, they're not even putting the information. They're just citing those two cases. Moreover, the prosecutor's knowing use of perjured testimony can violate the due process clause, even if it only undermines a witness's credibility. United States versus Cremati. As the Supreme Court has explained, a lie is a lie, no matter what its subject. And if it is in any way relevant to the case, the district attorney has the responsibility and duty to correct what he knows to be false and to elicit the truth. And that is Nepu versus Illinois. As explained below, in this trial, the government has presented testimony that it knew or should have known was materially false, related to its allegation that Mr. Combs dangled Brianna Bungle for a mistrial based on prosecutorial misconduct. Let me move this mic.
Today's Saturday the 7th.
When the introduction of perjured testimony results in a criminal conviction and the prosecution knew or should have known of the perjury, the conviction must be set aside if there is any reasonable likelihood that the false testimony could have affected the judgment of the jury. I'm not reading all those.
The specialist came in.
According to United States versus Walters,
like AunTeaFee.
Moreover,
who don't look like
they're not
AunTeaFee?
even
Me?
putting the information. They're just citing those two cases. Moreover, the
I don't look like
prosecutor's
myself.
knowing use of perjured testimony can violate the due process clause, even if it only undermines a witness's credibility.
Really?
United States versus Cremati. As the Supreme Court has explained, a lie is a lie, no matter what its subject. And if it is in any way relevant to the case, the district attorney has the responsibility and duty to correct what he knows to be false and to elicit the truth. And that is Nepu versus Illinois. As explained below, in this trial, the government has presented testimony that it knew or should have known was materially false related to its allegation that Mr. Combs dangled Brianna Bongolan from the balcony of Cassie Ventura's apartment in September of 2016. Accordingly, to avoid an unfair conviction in this case, the court should grant a mistrial. The government contends the alleged balcony incident is relevant because it shows Mr. Combs' violence directed not only to Ms. Ventura, but to other people around Ms. Ventura. She is aware of this violence, and because of her awareness, it goes to coercion. The incident, as alleged, is disturbing and powerful evidence, and the government has used it to depict Mr. Combs in an extremely negative light, as an angry, dangerous man who terrified Ms. Ventura and her friends. Are they serious with this right now? He's not?
D. Ferguson.
Like what?
Oh, he's
I'm
trying.
Sorry. Are we living on the same? Am I missing something here, guys?
Yeah, because that man went to the phone and said that it was the same thing, just a different date. Did they forget?
Just want to make sure I read everything on that one. Yeah.
And Cassie confirmed that he dangled her as well.
Are they? Okay. Am I missing it, guys? Am I missing something here?
They try really hard. And for people who see, this goes to show, hold on. This goes to show why people are sitting here saying they haven't proved nothing. Diddy gonna walk. Diddy don't think he gonna walk. He don't think he gonna walk. That's why they are pulling these different stunts. How many times have they done threw up mistrial on crap? Now, Cassie email of text messages when the man went through her phone confirmed that it was in there. Only thing that the little dope dealer girl got wrong was the date. She said the 26th, 27th. It was actually the 30th. Did he dangle her off of the 17th floor? Yeah. Yes. And not only did he dangle her, Cassie sent KK a message saying, I can't handle this no more. Y'all keep trying to get me to come back, but this man is tripping. He done dangled my friend off the bat and threw her down. So why would today, June the 7th, does it give a time? It just have June the 7th, 2025. Would you be trying to file, hi Deborah, a mistrial? So people can think that they ain't proved their case. Yes, they have. That's why they what they call fending for straws. Let's keep listening. Ooh, baby. A Saturday mistrial request. Lord. Ooh, they trying. They desperate, ain't they?
Admitted about his Are they serious with this right now?
Mm-hmm.
He's not? Like what? I'm sorry. Are we living on the same? Am I missing something here, guys? Sorry. Let me go to the next one. Just want to make sure I read everything on that one. Yeah. What? Let me make this bigger again. Are they? Okay. Am I missing it, guys? Am I missing something here? They admitted about his domestic violence and abuse. We've seen it on video. Multiple people have witnessed it or been victims of it. I'm so confused.
Yeah,
because the prosecutors elicited evidence about this allegation from both Ms. Ventura and Ms. Bongolan that is demonstrably false in key respects. Then they doubled down, using this false testimony to obtain a ruling, admitting inadmissible hearsay evidence about it as well, all to present a false narrative to the jury. The government started by eliciting testimony from Ms. Ventura about the allegation that cannot be true. Ms. Ventura said she actually saw Mr. Combs holding Ms. Bongolan over the balcony railings. I saw him bring her back over the railing of the balcony and then throw her into the patio furniture. Yet the prosecutors knew she had not actually seen what she described because they had in their possession a text conversation demonstrating that Ms. Ventura was told about the alleged incident by another unidentified person. Then they're citing what it is. It says, "Hey, I just found out some crazy S. I'm just finding out right now." She could have been lying to the person that she just found out. Like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that message back then was to show that she actually didn't. I don't know. Maybe they have more evidence, but Cassie was hiding everything that Diddy did and tried to pretend like everything was so great and they had this wonderful relationship. She hid her drug use. Like, this is what people do. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she was trying to get messy. She wanted someone to know. She wanted to act like, well, I wasn't there. I don't know. She was embarrassed about it. But hey, I just found out some crazy shite and I'm just finding out right now. Okay, but I could be wrong. Nonetheless, they allowed Ms. Ventura to continue to insist on cross that she had witnessed this incident. And question, and you testified that you saw him throw her into the patio furniture, right? Yeah, he brought her back over the balcony and he threw her down. She persisted in this story even after she was confronted by the text messages. Question, isn't it true that you learned about this incident on the balcony after the fact? I saw what I saw, so I don't know. Has the government in your preparation for your testimony in this case gone over this message with you? No, not this one, no. Thus, the government left the jury with the false impression that Ms. Ventura saw Mr. Combs dangle her friend over the balcony and that this made her fearful of him, when in fact, if there was any incident, Ventura merely heard about it afterwards, considerably lessening any probative value as to her state of mind. I thought they said that he was in New York in a hotel for 4 days ordering room service. So there's no possible way.
Exactly. Exactly. They said he wasn't there. Remember? Yeah. How can he be in two places at one time? Remember? And that's why I made it a point after Jane Doe said yesterday that sometimes whenever that was, that he had left her sitting in that apartment for 4 days. She was in a hotel for 4 days. So that meant that she was in a hotel under John Doe, and wherever he went, he was in a hotel under John Doe. Not John Doe, Frank Black. Mm-hmm.
You've probably heard about Boxable's flagship product, the Casita. Come on in. Because this is so tall.
And this happened. Okay. Next, the government doubled down by presenting perjured testimony from Bongolan intended to corroborate Ventura's false testimony. Bongolan claimed Combs lifted her up and held her feet on the balcony railing, and that this caused injuries to the back of my leg and pain and back and neck pain. Bongolan was very definitive about these injuries, and particularly the bruise on her leg, which was one of the details that stick out in her mind. Okay, so they have some citations here. I'm just going to read. They have, as the government also knows, like other witnesses in the case, Ventura and Bongolan have been in frequent contact at key points and have had many opportunities to collaborate on their stories. And in fact, Bongolan admitted to two friends discussed this incident before and after Ventura filed her lawsuit. Bongolan also has an enormous financial motive to lie because she filed a $10 million lawsuit against Mr. Combs based on this same allegation and will benefit by exaggerating the scope of her injuries to obtain damages. Her account makes no sense and seems to be physically impossible. Mr. Combs is only about 6 feet tall, and even if he is bigger than her, he is not tall enough to be able to hold a shorter adult by her armpits so high that her feet would have been on the balcony railing. But doesn't it mean he flipped her over? I thought he was dangling her by the feet. I'm Yes, he's strong enough to do that.
And didn't he
As
throw
Nicole testified,
that
California law required balcony
Deontay
railings to have a
off his
minimum
back?
height of 42 inches. Ooh, they are wild. They are wild. This is a matter for the jury. This is not perjured testimony. There was no perjury. This happened such a long time ago. The thing is, it happened. Like, the detectives show it happened. The memory is foggy on this, that, and the other, or if Cassie could have texted a person and could have been lying about, oh, did you hear this? Like she had never heard it. But I'm not sure where they're getting at with any of this. Like, this is, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't see how this is a cause for mistrial. That the jury would have to see that, okay, in cross, you should have pointed that out. This is something for the jury to determine who's telling the truth in this case.
He should have objected.
Which witness is credible.
Did he object?
Did the attorney? I don't see this as perjury at all, but I could be wrong. And then these arguments.
Did they object?
I'm gonna be honest. It feels like when you're arguing with like a kid or like a narcissist. Like when they try to, nitpick and they did the deed, but you don't remember like this, that, and the other thing. So how do you know it's true? But it's like all this other evidence that it happened, but did it really happen this way? How could he pick her up? Because the California code of the railing is 42 inches. Like, like who are you gaslighting? Like, I know his attorneys have to do their job, so I'm not mad at them, but Diddy, he's just an innocent little lamb. Okay, y'all. So they are they're doing some more of her testimony. Where did you go after you left Cassie's apartment? I went to my apartment. What did you do at your apartment? I was shaking a lot. And then I wanted to take a shower because I felt disgusted. And then I look over behind my leg and I see a huge bruise. We'll talk about the bruise in just a moment. Ms. Mongolan, do you remember all the details of the incident that night? No. Do the details that you talked about stick out in your mind? Yes. What, if any, physical injuries did you have as a result of that night? I had that big bruise with it was like a piercing in the middle of it. And then I had back and neck pain and. The government next introduced photographs of the injuries. Ms. Mongolan supposedly sustained, let me close this out. Sorry, I'm reading it wrong. The government next introduced photographs of the injuries Ms. Mongolan supposedly sustained at the hands of Mr. Combs, including GX, blah, blah, blah. A photo depicting the leg injury taken on September 26, 2016 at 9:45 a.m. Ms. Mongolan testified that she took the photos of her leg injury around the time, indicated in the exhibit that she did so the same day as the incident and that she got the same day that she got the injury from being thrown on the balcony furniture. On cross, she confirmed that the balcony incident happened early in the morning and that the photo of the leg bruise was taken later that day and that the injuries to her back and neck happened on the same day. The government then introduced photographs of the injuries supposedly sustained at the hands of Mr. Combs during the incident. The government knew or should have known that this testimony was perjured and that Ms. Mongolan could not have possibly been injured by Mr. Combs on a Los Angeles balcony in the early morning hours of September 26 or even the day before that. The government has long known that Mr. Combs was on the East Coast in late September.
Can y'all still hear her? Can y'all give me a 1 or a thumbs up if y'all can still hear her? Am I buffing?
And specifically at around the time of the alleged incident. The government knew that he had stayed at Trump Hotel in New York City between September 24th and 29th, 2016. In fact, the government had marked as GX blah the records of this hotel stay, which are now in evidence. And it has had other evidence in its possession for some time, showing that Mr. Combs' travel schedule and proving that he was on the East Coast when it told the jury he dangled Ms. Mongolan over a balcony in front of Ms. Ventura. Guys, they're claiming that Diddy was checked into the Trump Hotel for 4 days under Frank Black, one of his aliases. So was he doing a freak off? So you're telling me because he was checked into that hotel,
why did they not object?
Ordered room service occasionally. That means that was Diddy in that hotel room for 4 straight days, doing nothing else, going nowhere. He runs a record company, a music label, alcohol company, all of these different things. And he couldn't have gone to LA on a private jet or a commercial flight.
I had one of his trick offs
of it,
or another freak off going on there.
Right. Just because that he was checked into the hotel under or his alias. How do you know that was him? It was Frank Black. It could have been anybody in there. There is no proof at all that it was physically Diddy in that hotel. And he uses Frank Black as a pseudonym when he checks in from when he's doing freak offs. So was he engaging in a freak off? And even if he was for 4 days straight doing a freak off, he leaves those freak offs. Cassie has testified to this frequently.
Absolutely.
He would have an assistant make sure that it keeps going, that he can see it on an iPad. So even if he leaves, he has to go do business, he flies and goes somewhere else. The freak off continues and he makes sure that he can see it on one of his devices. He keeps it filming. Help me understand. Why would Diddy just never leave, to stay at the Trump Hotel and never leave? You can check into there and he can come and go as he pleases. But we don't even know if he was ever physically there. Do they have any evidence he was physically in that room the entire time?
Y'all, didn't we just learn with Jane Doe yesterday that she said that he left her there in the dark by herself after he had her, they ran a train on her, right? Oh, excuse me. I just had some drink. And then she saw that he was somewhere else in the islands, somewhere else with some new chick. Didn't she say that yesterday? Haven't we heard that he also get the hotel under Frank Black, not just for his freak offs, but for other celebrity freak offs? Right? He trying it, ain't he? Again, I say, for a lot of y'all thinking that they ain't evidence have not proved it, and it has. And they're thirsty and desperate. Because there have been people who have testified under oath, more than one, right? That he can have hotels, and he can be in more than one place with an alias. And sometimes he uses Frank White, not always Frank Black. Right? Do we forget? Let's keep listening. Because this is popping off now.
Make this make sense. So back then, they just made it up in text messages, and she went to the chiropractor, and all of this happened. And now, all these years later...
And at that time, she didn't even know nothing about
it. You have, come on, bro.
They trying.
Come on.
They trying hard, baby.
Top tier gaslighting. I'm sorry, I'm just not in the mood for this because any reasonable person can see that he could not have been at that hotel for 4 straight days, did he?
No.
Now you get me like a homebody, I'm not leaving and going nowhere. I'm tired, I'm laying down, I'm binge watching shows, I'm ordering room service and living my best life, but that's not Diddy. Okay. What's more, the defense began to expose the perjury and cross-examination. The government repeatedly attempted to disrupt the cross with unfounded objections and requests for sidebars and unfounded claims, such as the proper leading questions meant defense counsel was testifying. Then, despite having elicited Ventura's false testimony about having directly witnessed the alleged incident, the government persuaded the court to admit the hearsay text with quorum, describing what Ventura had found out from someone else. Despite having elicited perjurious testimony from Ventura, claiming she saw the alleged conduct. Honestly, Diddy could have got her to send that text.
Still looking for a new job?
Diddy they don't like the way that they done been
great company. So
her to send that text.
Pulled in and sucker
to make it look like if that girl tried to come back later and say that he did all this to her, that well, I heard it from somebody. Hey, KK, I heard this about Diddy. Is it true? I just asked Diddy. He said it wasn't true. Oh, okay. Didn't he offer to pay her money after this? And they have evidence of it? Why would he do that if nothing happened? Okay. All right. So all of this was highly improper and exasperated the harm caused by suborning the perjured testimony. It bears emphasis that the use of perjured testimony regarding the balcony incident is just one example of prosecutorial misconduct during this trial. The defense previously moved for a mistrial based on the improper line of questioning related to the 2012 destruction of fingerprints provided by Scott Muscati to the LAPD. As the court will recall, the defense argued that the government's motive in eliciting this testimony was to create an unfounded and highly prejudicial inference that Mr. Combs somehow had corruptly arranged for the destruction of the fingerprints. The government claimed that was not the purpose of its questions, and the court denied the motion and instead gave a narrow limiting instruction. However, it became apparent shortly thereafter, during the testimony of Mia, the very next day, that in fact the government's motives all along must have been to suggest that Mr. Combs had corrupt influence over the LA authorities when it tried to create the impression that he was responsible for the destruction of the fingerprints. Specifically, the government elicited testimony from Mia about 2 incidents in which the LAPD did not issue a ticket for speeding after she was pulled over because the officers found out she worked for Mr. Combs. In one case, Mia got pulled over speeding, name dropped that her boss was Mr. Combs, and got him on the phone, after which the officer was saying like, "Oh my God, Puff Daddy, I love you." Just went into this whole very excited conversation, and then she let me go. How is that suggesting that he has an insider when clearly this officer did not know Diddy? That's when you got him on the phone. They were super excited and giddy, and maybe they were clout chasing and glazing Diddy. And like some law enforcement will do that. They have the discretion, like, oh, okay, I can let you off with a warning or whatever. And if his reason or her reason was to do that was because of that, how is the government inferring that there's an insider? This is what Mia experienced. So should she not testify to it because you feel as though it's hinting at something? Absolutely no sense. The judge is going to shut this down, guys. I'm just telling you now. He's not getting a mistrial off of this. Not all of this. I don't see it happening, but I could be wrong. Oh, wait.
No, he's not going to mistrial after that. Did they object at the time it was being presented?
The second time Combs was in the car, let me close this out, was in the car.
Did he object?
Once they saw Puff, they were like, "Oh, my bad, yeah," and left us alone. Again, these are police officers who may be fans of Diddy at the time. And celebrities get that type of treatment we can pull 100 celebrities and they've all had an interaction like this where they got out of a speeding ticket or out of trouble, out of a court case because of their celebrity and who they are. That's how it works when you're one of the elite, one of the privileged. We don't have those privileges, but people like Diddy does. How is this alleging that the government is saying, oh, he has an insider because these cops who just, that his name was dropped to or they saw him, let Mia go?
Are they trying, ain't they?
The prosecutor took special care to emphasize that these incidents occurred in Los Angeles. What city did these interactions with the police occur in? LA. These incidents in isolation seem like benign examples of police giving lenient treatment to popular famous people, coupled with the sinister implications of the fingerprint destruction. However, they create a strong implication that the reason Mia, and as the government will surely argue, other alleged victims, didn't go to the police was because of Mr. Combs' corrupt influence over the police and the LAPD in particular. In other words, the subsequent questioning of Mia, even if itself permissible, further corroborates that the government's real purpose in its questioning of the fire inspector, Lance Jimenez, was to improperly suggest that Mr. Combs corruptly caused the destruction of the fingerprints. This constitutes another instance of prosecutorial misconduct. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Haven't they already discussed that?
No, it doesn't. I know they have to do this. I know Diddy is like on their behinds. He is acting crazy. He's nodding to the jury. He's getting in trouble in court. Yep. He sees the writing on the wall, and they are just trying to throw anything at the wall to see if it sticks. It's been alleged, and leaving in Little Rod's lawsuit, that Diddy has insiders at the NYPD. I think there's a former officer that spoke about it before, but people have been talking about this. But regardless of it, the things that they posted, like they have two things: prosecutorial misconduct, and Cassie and Bonna perjured themselves because of blah, blah, blah. And it was prosecutorial misconduct to say Diddy did these events because he had, under a pseudonym, which was not him. So there is no ID or any evidence that he was in this hotel other than someone ordered room service one day, that he couldn't have been in LA. Like, this is laughable. Like, this is gaslighting, but that's what attorneys are supposed to do. He's not getting a mistrial.
He's so not.
Prosecutorial misconduct. Anybody who's delusional enough to believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. I really do. I do.
He is most definitely not getting them.
This is just, these are very, especially this last one with the insider, because Mia was stopped, and so the government is trying to say that he had influence in the
Max to the
because
boogie.
His name was dropped, and this is the treatment that celebrities get all the time. What are you smoking?
He not getting no mistrial.
Like, let's be for real. And there are insiders
Some makeup brushes.
This happens all the time. People have been prosecuted for it. In fact, Brian Steele, who I actually like Brian Steele as an attorney.
This sounds like a Brian Steele stunt.
Because
he got it,
I do.
They got ate up last week. Let's just be clear.
This is just.
They got ate up. And I mean, they got.
Especially this last one with the insider,
baby, they got
LAPD, because Mia was stopped.
yesterday.
So the government is trying to say that.
So today, they are trying to request a mistrial.
His name
now,
and this is the treatment
and it's funny because they doing this. You see, yesterday, and I realized that Weinstein, Harvey, ooh, he look like he stink. But anyway, they was trying to threaten down the street. One was Upper Manhattan and one was down Lower Manhattan. They was trying to do a mistrial on a retrial for him yesterday. He playing himself with this mistrial bullcrap, just making them dig deeper. For real. Because didn't you not already object and they done sustained or overruled? So why you trying to come today, Saturday, when everybody gone, and trying to send a letter, a SOS, requesting a mistrial? Because you got ate up yesterday. Oh, yes, they ate that ass. I did not tell y'all, going into week 2, that Mia was a sandwich. She was the bread of the sandwich. Didn't I tell you? Now, I didn't realize, I was thinking at that time that they was going to come back with some more Cassie toward the end, so that they could seal that big old ass sandwich that they was making. Y'all remember me saying that? She the bread, the meat and potatoes is coming. Didn't I tell y'all that? Now, hell, I didn't know that there was, there is 2 slices to the bread of the sandwich. Cassie was the first part, And Jane Doe, 50, my baby mama, was the tail end of that sandwich. Because, baby, when I tell you they been adding all, I mean, that meat stack, that's a big-ass sandwich. And it's long. For long money. Yeah. Yeah. They ate that ass up. Ate that ass up. Say what? Ate that ass up. Let's go. Oh, I got my feet on the ground. Yeah, they eating that ass up. So he feel like part of his ass is gone. So he forcing these people to request that mistrial, just like they was trying to do in the Weinstein yesterday. And it got tossed out. Let's keep listening. He trying hard, ain't he?
What are you smoking?
He's smoking that
prosecutorial misconduct, and Cassie
that
and
Coochie that purple stuff
perjured themselves because of blah blah blah. And it was prosecutorial misconduct to say Diddy did these events because he had under a pseudonym, which was not him. So there is no ID or any evidence that he was in this hotel other than someone ordered room service one day, that he couldn't have been in LA. Like, this is laughable. Like, this is gaslighting, but that's what attorneys are supposed to do. He's not getting a mistrial. There is no prosecutorial misconduct. Anybody who's delusional enough to believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. I really do. I do. They're grasping at straws. These are very, especially this last one with the insider and the LAPD, because Mia was stopped. And so the government is trying to say that he had influence in the department because his name was dropped. And this is the treatment that celebrities get all the time.
Stop breaking the law.
Like, let's be for real. And there are insiders that do, this happens all the time. People have been prosecuted for it. In fact, Brian Steele, who I actually like Brian Steele as an attorney, when he was representing Young Thug, there was I think an officer at the jail who used to date one of the guys there, or she snuck some stuff in for Young Thug. Okay, so she was an insider. And she ended up getting fired and getting in trouble. And then they brought in another judge, because they got rid of the one judge. And they brought in another judge, and she actually used to clerk, or not clerk, she was like her bailiff or something at one point. So that judge actually recused herself from the case, and they had to bring in another judge because of this insider and what this insider had done. Somebody who worked for Fulton County, Georgia jails was sneaking stuff in. And it dated, and it was like all this whole incestuous thing. There were other people as well. Like, this happens all the time. Brian still just had that in a case. So what are they talking about? Guys, this just irritated me. But it's fun to read. So make sure you guys subscribe. Like I said, hit the notification bell.
Let's go. Where we going next? Hey, Boss Itch. Let me speak and show love. If I missed anybody else, I'm sorry. Thank you. I think I got one more good one. Hold on. Because, yeah. I don't know what that one is. Hold on. I need to get to some meat and potatoes for y'all, just in case y'all still, I mean, you know, I don't know why folks still may be acting like he got a chance. He know he ain't got no chance. That's why he finna for straws, baby. He finna for straws. Oh, I'm gonna research that. Let me. Let's go.
With Chevy Equinox EV, you get the tech you want with the best-in-class.
I need 8 more lights, y'all.
Remember, a judge will hear directed alleged victims, videos, photos, texts, emails, 4 weeks into testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs sex crimes trial. Who's winning? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Hey, Jesse.
So I kind of wanted to do this midway assessment of where are we in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial. There's been a lot that has been going on. This is the man accused, by the way, of engaging in racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, 5 charges that he allegedly engaged in a pattern of abuse and sexual exploitation of women.
Ooh, he looked bad right there, didn't he?
Resources and employees and associates to commit crimes, cover them up, that he operated this criminal enterprise, that he used force, fraud, coercion to cause at least 2 women, Cassie Ventura Fine and Jane, pseudonym, to engage in non-consensual freak-offs, sex workers being used for prostitution, a video of him appearing to beat up Cassie, the testimony of Kid Cudi supporting the allegation that Combs blew up his car, arson, a hotel worker claiming Combs paid $100,000 for surveillance footage of an apparent attack on Cassie, bribery. These are all underlying crimes for racketeering. One woman testifying that Combs dangled her off a 17-story balcony. Another woman claiming Combs kidnapped her with a gun. But defense attorneys grilling these alleged victims and witnesses about inconsistent statements, financial motivations, and maybe most importantly, messages and social media posts that allegedly show them trying to stay in touch with Sean Combs or speaking highly of him or showing their willing participation in sexual activities. The idea they could have left, but didn't. So there is a lot here. So I ask, who is winning right now as we are at the midway point in this trial? I'm not going to answer that question alone. You don't just want to hear from me for 25 minutes. No, let me bring on trial attorney, litigator, best socks in the business, Rich Schoenstein. Good to see you, Rich. Thank you so much. And for people who don't know, you just got off the live show with me that we do on YouTube and been so generous to come here on Sidebar, so appreciate it. Well, I'm always glad to be here. Very interesting case to talk about. So with the caveat that we have no idea what the jury is thinking, with the caveat that the defense hasn't even begun their case yet, who's winning this?
Well, the prosecution is winning. And you would hope that the prosecution would be winning. We're deep into the government's case right now. They put on their most important witness. They almost virtually led off with their most important witness. And they've shown really 2 things, if I would break it down. One is they have demonstrated really beyond dispute that he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He beats up his longtime girlfriend, he beats up other people, he blows up cars, he dangles people off the balcony, he operates through threats and intimidation and bribery. He is a bad guy. I don't think you can dispute that. I think the defense virtually concedes that in the opening statement. I mean, they do concede that he's done bad things, but he's done too many bad things. He is a bad guy. And the second thing is, I think the government has shown enough evidence of the various elements of the various crimes charged that they can proceed on all of those claims to a jury. Remember, a judge will hear directed verdict motions at the end of the government's case, and if there's not sufficient evidence, you don't get a cause of action, you don't get a claim to the jury. I think everything will go to the jury.
Meaning the defense at the end of the prosecution's case can be like, after everything you heard, Judge, there's nothing for the jury to decide. This case should be dismissed. That's not going to happen.
Well, yeah.
There's enough there for the jury. This question's a fact.
Right. And it's a little more complicated here. I mean, that happens all the time in criminal prosecutions, and those motions are always denied. There are very technical elements of this RICO count. Right. You have to prove a RICO enterprise. You have to prove conspiracy. You have to prove predicate acts. I think the government's done that. I don't think any of that's going to block it from going to the jury.
Let's talk about that. That's what I want to talk about, if they've met those elements. Hey, everybody, this is another law and crime legal alert. Do you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and... What?
When it comes to ideas for your bath project, you have options within options at Floor & Decor.
When the 2016 video came into evidence, that was the main concern, right? Before we even get into the element, foods to all this, or Morgan & Morgan, they're stepping in to fight to hold these food companies accountable. With decades of experience fighting large corporations, they are ready to stand up for the families who need to learn more. From a human point of view, we had Barrett Berger on the live show, and she said, look, when you're confronted with this evidence, the jurors are human beings. I'm a bit paraphrasing, but the jurors are human beings. What they're supposed to do is make a decision based on the facts and the evidence and what's presented in court. What they're not supposed to do is just make an assessment, he's a bad guy, I want to convict him of something. But she said her experience would tend to show that when jurors are confronted with a bad guy who's done bad things, how on earth can they let him off?
Yeah.
So there is something to that. And I think that is a legitimate concern. I think when the 2016 video came into evidence, that was the main concern, right? And before we even get into the elements, that's a problem.
That's a huge problem because the argument that the defense has, well, he's a bad guy, but you didn't charge the right crimes. If you're a defense team picking arguments you're going to make at trial, that's not even in the top 10 arguments that you want to make, but that's what they've been left with. They're running with it, and they have to. When you try cases, you take the case you're handed. You don't get to make it up from scratch. So that's what's available to them. But it's a hard argument to make.
Okay, so let's talk racketeering conspiracy and whether or not at this point in the trial, we don't know who else is going to be called. But let's talk racketeering conspiracy. Do you think that they have proven there is a criminal enterprise, and how have they proven it?
Do y'all think they have proved it? Give me a 1 if you think right now they have proved it. A 2 if you think right now they have not. Come on, y'all. Let's get some 1s and 2s. Have they proved it? Let me give my input. Let me see. I'm gonna put, have they proved it? Fee about the facts. Have they proved it? 1 yes, 2 no. Come on, y'all. Am I finished with this other poll up here? Yeah, I'm through with that one. Come on, y'all. Hit the like button. Oh, come on. Let's see. I know y'all hate when I stop. Well, get my likes up.
And explain what we mean by that.
Sure. A criminal enterprise can be any sort of assemblage. And typically when we first heard of RICO, it was in the context of the mob. And the thing that's different about that kind of case from this kind of case is in a mob case, the organization itself is created to commit illegal acts. This case has legitimate businesses. He's an entertainer. He's a businessman. Millions and millions of dollars of legit business. So it's not an organization created to commit illegal acts, but his businesses are shown to be linked to all of this activity. His businesses help buy the videotape. His businesses help try to cover up his illegal activity. His businesses help fund his illegal activity. So the enterprise at the end of the day
it's his businesses.
And if it's an association of people, even if it wasn't businesses, and they say that, he uses his businesses and resources, but associates and employees and staff to facilitate crimes and cover them up. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. When David James, his assistant, said when he started work, he was told this is Sean Combs' kingdom.
At Sweet Bee Organics, we believe in the power of nature's ingredients to nurture your body and soul. Unlike conventional...
David James, his assistant, said when he started work, he was told this is Sean Combs' kingdom. We're all here to serve it. For a criminal enterprise, you have to have a common purpose. Yeah. Everybody knows what it is. If it was the mafia, we're all helping the family, right? We're all helping the family. If the goal is to help Sean Combs, protect his image, protect him at all costs, George Kaplan, another assistant, basically testified the same thing. I can kind of see that, right? I can kind of see, not everybody can be charged with racketeering. John Smith on the street can't. But if you're Sean Combs, who has all these employees, I can kind of see it. The idea of there being a common agreement, like there was a conspiracy, there's a criminal agreement to further criminal activity. Have you seen that? Have you seen a good agreement, an understanding, an association of all these people? They're all on the same page?
Well, they're roughly on the same page. I mean, I would go at this if I was on the defense team, too, because obviously there's no express agreement, there's no contract, there's no conversation, there's no clear agreement where a group of people sat down and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cover up domestic violence, right? But there's an understanding amongst the people who work for his businesses that they are there to service and protect the king. He is the king. He is the head of all the businesses. He is the reason all of them make money, and they need to do his bidding.
Can I push back on that? Because Derek Ferguson, who was the head of his finances, right, the CFO, testified. And you would think if I were to tell you in a racketeering case, oh man, he's going to say how the profits from all of this illegal conduct flowed through. He was asked, like, what do you think about Sean Combs being charged with these crimes? And he really didn't have an answer. And he was asked under cross-examination, have you seen evidence of criminal activity? No. Have you seen that this sexual abuse and sexual exploitation or sex trafficking has benefited Sean Combs' businesses? He says, I can't. What I did find interesting is he talked about how there were opportunities for Sean Combs to have personal accounts, that he supplied his staff with cash, maybe important for the freak-offs, you know, things like that. And of course, there was, I think the biggest part of the testimony is there was a $20,000 payment that seemed to confirm the allegation from Cassandra Ventura's mom that her family had paid $20,000 to prevent Sean Combs from releasing sex tapes of their daughter. But you didn't see that flow of money so concretely where the jury might say, I don't know, how exactly is this benefiting his businesses or him?
Well, okay, so contrast it again to a mob case. This is not a criminal organization selling drugs and deriving profits, or selling guns or prostitution and deriving profits, and that obviously benefits the organization. It's not the domestic violence that benefits the organization. It's the covering up of the domestic violence. Mm-hmm. It is the carrots and the sticks that make those victims keep quiet, remain anonymous.
You mean protecting him so
yes.
everybody benefits?
Right. Right. And so that doesn't equate to revenue, but it protects the whole enterprise and allows the enterprise to continue to generate profit.
So I also think they've done a good job at establishing the methods and the means and the pattern, right? There's just been so much testimony about alleged, physical violence that he inflicted not just on Cassie, but other people. You know, there was the testimony of Mia. There was the testimony of Breonna Bagolan. There's the testimony of Capricorn Clark. And we'll get into this a little bit later with forced labor, but I just feel like they've done that. Now the question becomes, have they proven at least two underlying predicate crimes for racketeering? And so we have forced labor, we have kidnapping, we have sex trafficking, we have arson, we have bribery of a witness, obstruction. There are drug offenses, right? Possession with intent to distribute of narcotics and controlled substances. Have they proven at this point in time at least two?
Sure. I mean, there's the bribery, there's buying the videotape, right? There's buying the video from
Eddie Garcia.
Yeah. And what was significant about that to me, and I wasn't expecting, is Sean Combs has the money. Sean Combs delivers the money. He is the bag man, which you don't expect. He's running the whole operation. I don't know why he's carrying around a bag of $100,000, but according to the testimony, which I think is believable, he did that himself. He delivered that himself, so he has no excuse. There's no CEO defense.
No middleman.
Right. I didn't know what my minions were doing. They were trying to protect me. I didn't know about it. He is actually there. He's there at the guy's house while the guy's car is being blown up. I think
Kid Cudi.
Yeah. I think that may be a little bit harder, but I think there's bribery. I think there's arson. And I mean, there's obviously trafficking of prostitution. There's prostitutes being brought to these freak-offs.
There we go, y'all. We talked about that earlier.
Let's break this down a little bit. I agree. I think with Eddie Garcia, I think the jury has a clear...
The key to being rich.
We talked about that earlier, y'all.
A little bit. I agree. I think with Eddie Garcia...
We talked about that earlier. You can no longer trick, imp, or either be freaky enough to pay for somebody you meet, pay for them to come fly out to you, leave them with a little something, for the purposes of S3X. You can't do that. That's trafficking now. I wanted y'all to hear it from the attorney.
Now
that
the question
practices
becomes,
this law.
have they proven at least two
They are setting
underlying predicate crimes for
y'all up.
racketeering? And so we have forced labor, we have kidnapping, we have sex trafficking, we have arson, we
And
have
the funny
bribery
thing
of
about it
witness,
is they
obstruction,
keep
there's
telling
drug-
y'all that if they ain't got nothing, they got S3X trafficking. Not because Cassie was selling her cookies, but because he was paying for the sausage. Sausage and a cookie. Sausage sandwich in some Oreo cookies. Yeah. He paid for the sausage to play with her cookie for a fee. Okay, y'all better learn these
offenses,
laws.
right? Possession with intent to distribute of narcotics and controlled substances. Have they proven at this point in time at least two?
Sure. I mean, there's the bribery, there's buying the videotape, right? There's buying the video from
Eddie Garcia.
Yeah. And what was significant about that to me, and I wasn't expecting, is Sean Combs has the money. Sean Combs delivers the money. He is the bag man, which you don't expect. He's running the whole operation. I don't know why he's carrying around a bag of $100,000, but according to the testimony, which I think is believable, he did that himself. He delivered that himself, so he has no excuse. There's no CEO defense.
No middleman.
Right. I didn't know what my minions were doing. They were trying to protect me. I didn't know about it. He is actually there. He's there at the guy's house while the guy's car is being blown up. I think
Kid Cudi.
Yeah. I think that may be a little bit harder, but I think there's bribery. I think there's arson. And I mean, there's obviously trafficking of prostitution. There's prostitutes being brought to these freak-offs, and he's involved in that.
So let's break this down a little bit. I agree. I think with Eddie Garcia, I think the jury has a clear, digestible count for bribery as one of the underlying crimes, because this is a guy who was granted immunity, who clearly needed it, because he basically said that he took $100,000 that he split with two other people, didn't report the money on his taxes, didn't put it in his bank account, admitted to lying to authorities in June of 2024. Now, the defense would say, hey, the NDA that you signed didn't prevent you from speaking to law enforcement. This was just purely to protect Sean Combs' privacy, the privacy of Cassandra Ventura. This was not to cover up a crime, although Eddie Garcia testified that Sean Combs told him don't make any big purchases. A little strange, but there's that. And by the way, going back to bribery, there was another security guard who also said that Sean Combs tried to bribe him as well. He said he pushed Combs against the wall, refused the payment. Put bribery aside. Now you got kidnapping, arson. I think Kid Cudi was one of the most important witnesses. So Kid Cudi testified, right, that he had this beef with Sean Combs because he started dating Cassie. He says his car was blown up with a Molotov cocktail. There was corroborating evidence from law enforcement and about an investigation into this. Also said that he was told Sean Combs' assistant Capricorn Clark was basically kidnapped, taken to his house. I think he helped prove two underlying crimes, and Capricorn Clark's testimony supported the kidnapping. Maybe it's not clearly
Can y'all still hear?
as the bribery. And by the way, Kid Cudi said that while Combs denied it at first, it was like years later, he says he came to him and basically said, I'm sorry for all that. It was specific, but he felt like a credible witness, no?
Yes, he did seem like a credible witness. And the reason I differentiated a little bit from the bribery is, again, because the bribery is money in Sean Combs' hands. We don't know who threw presumably a Molotov cocktail into this guy's car, right? The jury has to, do they see proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Combs gave the instruction for that to happen? Looks highly probable given the circumstances and given the testimony, but they have to find beyond a reasonable doubt that there are multiple predicate acts. So can they get there on arson? Can they get there on kidnapping? And again, I think the undercurrent of how bad a guy he is going to influence the jury in that regard.
What about the assistants? You know, you talk about assistants cleaning up the hotel rooms, which if the jury accepts freak-offs were coerced sexual encounters with commercial sex workers, that they're crime scenes essentially, and they're setting them up, cleaning them up, that they were getting Combs drugs, which may or may not have been used to keep victims compliant, which is one of the allegations. One assistant talked about driving Combs to confront Suge Knight, who was his rival, that Combs was carrying guns, that they were watching the abuse of Cassie. One testified about having to buy some materials to maybe stop her swelling, maybe cover up. Do you think that they have established that if a racketeering conspiracy, Combs used his staff, his employees, his associates to commit crimes and cover them up? You think they've proven that?
Yes.
Okay.
I totally do. I think it's pretty clear that the staff was there, again, to service and protect the king. And that they're literally cleaning up crime scenes. I do think that's established.
What about forced labor? That's another underlying predicate crime for kidnapping. And if you want, I can lay out what I think might be it.
Yeah, you tell me what the forced labor is.
So you had testimony from assistants that they were working like essentially 24 hours, 7 days a week, that they were up 5 days straight. You had one assistant, Mia, who said that she was basically sexually assaulted. You had another who said they were blackmailed with tape of them dancing, I think, on a narcotic of some kind. So, you know, that's hanging over them as they're doing the work of Sean Combs. You have another who says that they were basically subject to a lie detector test for days. One says they were threatened. Capricorn Clark, she also says that she was kidnapped. And you think about this environment that they're in, is this forced labor?
Yeah, I think you can probably get there from the totality of the circumstances. Some of this stuff is, and I've been in other cases where people complain about how hard it is to work for a celebrity, and there's a lot of whining about the hours are really bad, and the celebrities call you night and day, and they need things urgently. And that's just par for the course if you're going to be an assistant for somebody with that kind of lifestyle. But when you get to threats and videotapes and threats to turn them over to the police, now you're well outside what could reasonably be expected. And I guess that could get you to forced labor.
Okay, so I don't know if there's more that you want to add for racketeering conspiracy, but I think we nailed it, that they definitely have enough to survive like a motion to dismiss, right? To move it forward, motion for directed verdict, to go to the jury. We don't know what the jury will say, but you think that, I said they're probably 75% there, 80% there. I think there still needs to articulate a little bit more the flow of money and a little bit more the agreement, the understanding, the conspiracy. I mean, do you think that we have heard the testimony from co-conspirators? People have taken immunity deals, but you can't have a racketeering conspiracy and a legal agreement with itself. Do you think we've heard from the co-conspirators?
No, I think you could. I think the government could add a little conspiracy testimony, and also flow of money is very important in this kind of thing, so that could be helpful.
You think you need Christina Courtroom, the former chief of staff, who's come up a lot during the course of this case?
I don't know if you need her, but I think it's optimal to have her.
Okay, so racketeering conspiracy, top charge, potentially life in prison, put that to the side. Let's go to the lowest hanging fruit, and then we'll get to sex trafficking. Transportation to engage in prostitution. Essentially, that Sean Combs transported sex workers and victims with the intent that they engage in sex work, that they're intent of prostitution. You don't need force, fraud, or coercion for sex trafficking. It's more of a straightforward charge, carries up to 10 years in prison. Have they proven that? Take Cassie's testimony. She claims that freak-offs happened in multiple locations, multiple cities. So if the jury accepts all these episodes were sex work, right? She's having sex or sexual relations with people who are being paid sex work. She also testified that the male performer, the escort, who was allegedly in the room at the LA Intercontinental Hotel in 2016 was named Jules. And Jules was used in multiple locations. That, to me, could be transportation.
And paid.
And paid.
And paid.
And paid.
I think that is.
And paid.
You have a little bit of a risk if you're the prosecution that the jury is going to conclude that these were all willing participants and this wasn't really prostitution, this was a sex party. I think as a technical matter, if you pay a prostitute to come to another state and have sex with people, that is sex trafficking. That is
Did we talk about this earlier,
and if he had Cassie do the payments and arrange it, could he still be found guilty?
Sure. It's his money. He is a participant in it. He knows it's happening.
Did we talk about that earlier?
Can be daunting.
uncertainty, fear.
Participant in it, he knows it's happening. I don't think he can get out of it. Just because he's not the bag man on that one, I don't think he gets out of it.
So now we got 2 charges down. Let's talk about sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura. So, in order to prove that, the government would have to show that force, fraud, coercion was used for her to be induced into engaging into these non-consensual episodes, these freak-offs with commercial sex workers. Maybe even, if you want to say whether they're paid or not, something of opportunity was dangled over her head, whether or not she was given something to engage in sex, talk about financial control, things of that nature. Has the government proven sex trafficking, which, by the way, has a mandatory minimum of 15 years in prison? Have they proven it?
So, my view is yes, but I do understand where there could be a difference of opinion here, because it's a question of fact. Was she compelled to engage in the activity she engaged in? There's no question that she engaged in the activity, right? So the question is that because she wanted to, or is that because of punishments and inducements to do it? And to me, this seems like domestic violence and a situation where the victim is subject to a lot of influence, and a classic situation where you have one party in the relationship who has much more power, infinitely more power than the other person. And he is exerting that power to make her do what he wants. And the fact that she sometimes likes it, which is clearly true, right, from the evidence. I mean, it does.
Text messages.
Yeah, it does appear that she at times is a willing participant, but overall, I still find it to meet the definition of sex trafficking.
Because the jury could accept there's no way she actually consented to this. When you think about what she claimed happened to her, and you think about, I mean, the prosecution has been so keen at trying to establish what the environment was. You know, even talking about Brianna Bengolan allegedly being hanged off a 17-story balcony, the prosecution came out today and said, well, if Cassie was aware of it, it goes to coercion. It shows, like, the violence she was around and what would have happened. I said this before, I said it again. This is not a clean prosecution.
Correct.
And I want to get to where the defense is going in a minute, because I think they've been doing a stellar job. I really do. But I think there are 2 concrete examples for sex trafficking for Cassie Ventura. I'm curious your thoughts. So number 1, 2016 hotel. So the idea is she claimed she was leaving a freak-off, so a commercial sex event, right, leaving a freak-off, when Sean Combs, in a towel, by the way, runs down the hall, hits her, drags her back in the direction of the room, and that's a clear-cut case of violence, clear-cut case of force being used. Number 2 is she claims she was on a plane, so now you have a travel component as well. He sits next to her, shows her videos of freak-offs as a way to intimidate her, threatens to release them. She says she feels trapped. They land. Shortly thereafter, he asks for a freak-off. He gets a freak-off. So you have a travel component, you have a coercion component, and you have a commercial sex act component. I think those 2 are the most clear-cut cases of sex trafficking in this case.
I agree they're pretty clear-cut, but I wonder if the jury is going to consider it on a case-by-case, incident-by-incident basis, or if the jury is just going to say, what do we think of this relationship? Do we think she was a victim, or do we think she was a willing participant? And one of the things the jury could look at, a jury would easily understand that she didn't have a way out. She's with this very powerful man. He makes threats. There's financial inducements to stay in the relationship. There's problems if she gets out. But the difficulty with that is she did get out. The difficulty with that is at the end of the day, as the jury has seen, she got out. She got a new partner. She's had children.
And she's not done the freak off since.
She's getting paid a lot of dough for the lawsuit. So a jury could question the narrative that she couldn't get out.
So in other words, it's not like she, hit her attacker on the head, ran to police, finally escaped. Because the thing is even after the 2016 episode, there was a text message where she basically wrote him, it wasn't good vibes or not a good vibe. I mean, it seems light. And it goes to a larger conversation. Look, you had Dr. Dawn Hughes who took the stand. This forensic psychologist said when you look at victim abuse relationships, basically it may look like a victim is acting inconsistent with being abused, but that's not the case. There's trauma bonding, there's financial control, there's a realization if you're ultimately a victim. There's a lot of complicated factors about why they stay in touch. Cassie testified that she was raped by Sean Combs and then had one more consensual encounter. there. And I think our understanding has changed. But at the same time, and this goes to a larger question, if this really did happen, are these people, particularly Cassie, is she a victim of domestic violence or is she a victim of sex trafficking? The text messages where she seemed to encourage the freak-offs or set them up, was it a way just to appease this tormentor, or was it, I'm in a relationship? Brianna Bengolan, first of all, the defense said, you stayed in touch with Cassie, you maintained that relationship after getting attacked like this? That seems weird, but 2 weeks after this purported attack, you asked Cassie if Sean Combs wants a sweatshirt? Mia, the woman who claims that she was sexually assaulted multiple times by Sean Combs, had these glowing text messages to him. I love you. Birthday messages to him. You know, there was messages about people who were allegedly tormented by Sean Combs but wanted to continue working for him. There's a question of could they not get a job? Were they blackballed in the industry?
Listen, okay, I'm coming up on 3 hours and I need at least 5 likes or I'm about to shut it down. Right about now. We can't go now step further. Not now. Just a little bit on TV. Now, see, I shouldn't have to. Yeah, I'll be back a little later. I shouldn't have to go through this. I shouldn't have to go through this.